Welcome back to the Revamp Podcast. Super excited today. Actually, I got to ask you. So you have your Facebook name is Matt Edwards.
Yeah. So,
but you're not Matt Edwards.
That's right, Matt Johnson.
Johnson.
Yeah. So the reason for that, go back to like 2020. So I right when, like right before COVID. I know of course nobody knew what was going on with that, whether all that was real or not, and all that stuff. So no idea what was going on within the real estate industry. So I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to be a cop or anything like that, or something like that. So I applied to Delaware State Police. I got through like that, got through the academy, got to what they call patrol procedures, and I was like, that's not for me anymore. But during my background investigation, I just changed. I wanted to go completely anonymous.
Needed some anonymity.
Yeah. So Edward's my middle name.
Got it.
So there's nothing really fancy behind it, but I didn't want anybody to find me. I'm still unsearchable, I think, for the most part. So yeah, I just never changed it back. That's all.
Well, I'll have to make a note that we put your name as Matt Edwards on the show.
No. So I just never even think to mention it. You know,
That's funny.
I like to kind of keep a low profile. I don't know. I always have. I don't like a lot of attention.
That's okay.
Like this is even.
Yeah, you're doing the wrong thing right now, brother.
I know. And that's the thing. It's like I'm trying to kind of step up. Like I don't really have much of an online presence aside from like Facebook.
Right.
I know, and Instagram here and there, and the banter back and forth just with other people, other local guys and stuff like that. But I know I'm missing out on a big opportunity. Either to raise money, to find deals, all this stuff. So trying to get outside of my comfort zone.
See, that's interesting because I feel like you are pretty active on social media, and that's kind of how we connected too, right? You're out there, you're doing it, and you're probably finding deals from it too, right?
Honestly, the last couple deals I've closed on, whether they be places that I'm flipping or wholesale deals or anything like that, they're all from Facebook. Almost every single one.
I love that, man.
So, I did the paid marketing thing for a while, and that's hit or miss because I'm not the only person doing that.
When you say paid marketing, you mean with Facebook specifically?
I did Facebook ads, mail,
okay.
cold
so lots of direct to seller marketing stuff.
Yeah. Within the last year, I've only bought one place on market, and it was just I used one of my comps that was in the same neighborhood, so like I already knew like what I was getting into.
Gotcha.
So I overpaid. I paid more than I wanted to. And there was, of course, multiple offer thing, but like I used my own comp, so I already knew like what I was getting into.
Yep.
So that's the only time I do that. But I used it's all Facebook's people I mostly know either in passing or people I've known forever, or whatever. And everybody loves to have a guy.
Yeah.
So it's if something comes up in conversation, it's I know a guy that'll put a roof on your house, or I know a guy that'll buy your baby dad's place or whatever, something like that. So I try to make people laugh doing like I post some of the most absurd shit on there too.
Dude, it works.
It does.
It works.
It does. So and it's free. So and anything that usually comes from Facebook, it's already kind of like a warm lead anyway.
It's pre-vetted.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that, dude.
So trying to get outside of my comfort zone and kind of market myself a little more, maybe. Yeah. I guess without getting I when I was younger, I was sort of glorified the what I want to say, like the guru kind of persona, I guess.
Really?
Yeah. And almost that like imposter syndrome. I was 23, 24 years old, running around making myself look like I got sick of trying to make myself look like I was way more than what I was.
Gotcha.
So my mid-20s, I was like, I got to get my shit together, and had the brief stint with state police. And then after I decided that wasn't for me anymore, I was like, this is my shot. Like, I got to figure it out. It's like 27. So really domino didn't fall. I had probably 3, 4, maybe 5 years of just kind of screwing around, having people steal money from me, partners, stuff like that. Trying to figure out who's real, who's not real. I was younger. I never really realized how screwed up some people are. And being a young, sort of impressionable kid that was chasing money at the time, I was like, I'll do anything with anybody. I'll trust anybody, whatever. There's people that have been doing this for longer than I have.
Yep.
Of course, they're all going to be.
Of course, they're going to know more than me. Yeah.
Yep. And that is 1,000% not the case all the time.
Yeah.
I've gotten the wool pulled over my eyes more times than I'd even like to admit. But I mean, it's just part of the game, really. And I'm lucky enough, like, it never took me out of the game. I just chalk it up to the cost of doing business, and it is what it is. And, I don't like listening to other people. They're like, oh, go get a job or whatever, which I did for a little bit. But, all that chasing money when I was younger, I didn't really know what I was chasing.
Yeah.
But now it's like it was the freedom that I was chasing that the money kind of brings.
So chasing money when you were younger. So like, what was your entry into the world of real estate?
So I graduated from Penn State and in 2015. And of course, I was 22 years old, no idea what I wanted to do, but I was like, I want to make money somehow.
What'd you major in?
History.
History. Okay.
Yeah. So my plan was originally to go to law school, and school was just not for me at all. I didn't like it. I had a hard time staying focused. Like, I wanted to get out and like work.
Yep.
Which, if I could go back and sort of rethink that, I probably would have, maybe done things a little different, because the real world.
What do you think you would have done different?
I honestly think I probably would have went in the military, I think.
Okay.
And got more real life experience, I think, than going to college. I mean, it was a liberal arts major, so majoring in history. I wanted to go to law school. There's already so many attorneys to begin with. So what was going to make me different? Especially if it's not something I really, cared about. It was chasing money. It's like, I could charge $400 or $500 an hour, but I have no time to enjoy the money that I make. So I was like, all right, well, I had a teacher in high school he's a Wall Street guy in the 80s. So just, mover, shaker back in the 80s, retired late 90s, early 2000s. Started teaching because I remember as clear as day. He was like, I stopped golfing. I got tired of golfing every day. And he lived somewhere. He lived somewhere in Delaware County, somewhere around here.
Really?
Bill Fritch was his name, and he started buying smaller sub 30, 40 unit multifamily.
Got it.
And a lot of Section 8. And he would teach like the business class that I was in high school that he would teach. He was like, I'll put these Section 8 tenants in here. The government will pay me and all this. I'm like, I just don't understand it. And I was 16 years old or something.
Yeah, it's not even attractive to you yet. It's like,
but I was like, all right, I know what his beater car is, and it's a Honda Accord, but I also know that he drives an S-Class too on the weekends. So at the time, like, you had to have some money. Like, you couldn't really fake an S-Class, 15, 20 years ago, really. Yeah. So I was like, all right, I mean, this guy, he knows something that I don't know. So it always kind of stuck in the back of my mind. I was like, all right, I come super blue collar family. My dad drives a truck. Great dad, always provided, but always worked his ass off. My mom, CNA, always worked. My grandparents were in the mushroom industry in Canada, of course. So that's all I kind of knew was just like work. So it was all kind of like engraved into me, but I was like, God, like, I see everybody work themselves to the bone. What can I do different, basically? And I was like, I know, like, I'm not a super smart guy, like tech guy, nothing like that. I can't start a tech company, and like a lot of people do now, at least. Like, real estate. I know people make money in real estate, I think, whatever. So after school, I started working for a wholesale company. Learned a lot of what not to do with that wholesale company. Just thought I could be like Mr. $1 Million Listing, work with all these, investors from New York, California, and, Connecticut. And I did have a pretty fat investor list at the time. I was, 23, 24 years old, but I had no idea what I was doing. Like, I didn't know how to, gauge construction. I really didn't even know how to comp anything right. I was kind of send stuff to these guys and, I'd be like, here's everything. You can kind of figure out what's going to work for you.
Right.
So after that, I mean, I was full-time realtor for maybe 2 or 3 years, but like that, I'm just not cut from that cloth at all. It's too prim, proper, like, which I faked it for a while, I guess, because I thought that's how that world
you
was
thought that's
be.
the way.
Yeah. I had the BMW and the suit and all this stuff, and I was like, okay. So I thought was playing the part.
Playing the part,
yeah. But then I was like, this sucks. Like, you gotta, kiss ass for a living. This sucks. So that's when after that, I was like, all right, I'll wholesale. So I was wholesaling full time for a little bit. And I guess 2017, 2018, at least in Philly, that's all this was in Philly for a while.
Okay.
for a while you could, any deal you found, you could close. There was no issues at all years ago. And then 2017, 2018, everything kind of started to heat up, and it started getting harder to close stuff. It's like out of every 10 deals, like 5 would close maybe. And that was assuming that, all the moving parts were moving the right way.
Yeah, sure. And this is once you went on your own.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah. So after that, I like everybody else, wholesale. I was like, I wanted to build a big wholesale team. So, I had some bird dogs that I worked with. I was like, listen, let's kind of do this stuff. I'll give you guys lists. I'll skip trace everything. I'll give you guys just, thousands of addresses.
Yeah.
And numbers, and you just smile and dial. Well, that'll take it out of anybody. So, I mean, how excited can you be? Yeah.
It's a grind.
And, I did it for, a while. But it just, you can only sit on the phone for so long every day. After the 100th phone call, it's like, fuck,
You mean after the 100th, fuck off?
Honestly, yeah. I mean, I had people say they're going to find me and cut my legs off. And,
yeah, dude.
I got some
builds character.
Honestly, so there's two things that stick out to me that I look back out now, like, what the fuck was I doing? It was the 3000th block of North Ringgold. I think I forget the exact address, but Bird Dog brought me a deal. It was like, I don't know, I forget exactly what happened, but Bird Dog brought me a deal. He's like, all right, we're gonna go meet this guy who's selling this place in North Philly. So I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, go in, and I'm like, there's something, like, you ever walk into a place and it's like something just doesn't feel right?
All the time. Unfortunately.
Yeah. And there was just like some kind of energy there. There's like, something's not right here. So, I walk around. I'm like not keeping my back to, anybody really. And then I like threw a number at the seller there, and it was like 15, 20 grand, which at the time is kind of what it was worth. This was 8 years ago, maybe.
Right.
More or less. I don't know, something like that. And, he's like, all right, cool. I was like, all right, sweet, cool. I was like, I don't know, I might be able to pocket this 10, 15 or something like that. Go to my car. I walk outside to go to my car. And I walk outside. I'm staring down the barrel of a gun from the Philadelphia police, too.
Oh.
So, yeah, plot twist. So the actual guy that owned the property lived across the street. So some guy just, I forget exactly what happened, but somebody was trying to sell a place that,
they didn't
know. It wasn't even a deed fraud thing. It didn't even get to that.
Didn't even get there yet. Yeah.
So I'm like, oh shit, here we go. And I remember this so distinctive, like very, very, like it's like very vividly, because it was like a very, very busy day. And I remember making a phone call to my buddy Josh at the time, and we're doing a lot of work together at the time. I was like, hey man, like, I'm just going to be late coming in. We had an office in South Philly. And I was like, I'm going to be late. Like, I'll explain everything later. So I get hooked up, and of course, being in North Philly, of course, I got my gun on me, of course, just in case. And, at first, I come out, put my hands on, I'm like, listen, I got a gun on me. Like, it's legal. I got my CCW, everything like that.
Yep.
So they're like, okay, well, right now you're burglarizing this house. I'm like, oh, Jesus, this was not on my bingo card at all today.
Dude.
So I'm sitting there on the sidewalk. Of course, everybody starts coming out of their house and stuff like that in handcuffs. And I'm trying to explain what's going on to these cops that have no idea how the industry works.
Yeah, right, right.
Like,
I'm here to try to buy this place, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. So I get pulled aside, and there's a lieutenant in white shirt that comes out. And she's like, I haven't seen you around here. It's like, I know, ma'am. Like, I still had my thought I was hot shit, still had my BMW at the time. So I was like, that's my car over there. Like, I have real estate contracts, and I start getting grilled. I'm like, holy shit, I'm gonna get booked for something today.
Yeah.
So, anyway, long story short, I got off of that one. The guy that was trying to sell the house, he ended up getting booked. So that was, and then my bird dog too almost got booked too.
No crap.
So I was like, no.
But he wasn't there with you.
No, he was.
He was there with you.
So
okay.
I was like, no, he's good. And we still talk about that to this day. It's like nobody.
Dude, that's wild.
It's not a normal story to tell.
No.
Like,
no.
But then, so that was a pretty close call. Then another, and I was like 23, 24 years old. And I look at kids that are guys that are 24, 25 years old now. I'm like, I can't believe I was doing that shit then.
Yeah, man.
Like, my parents had no idea what I was doing. I was like, don't worry about it. Like, I'm going to be fine. I'm good.
Yep.
And then there's another close call. It was at 1800 block of Hart Lane. So it was like right at Kensington and Somerset. So tough spot, obviously. Walk into this place, it was a shell. Walk in, somebody dead inside the house. I'm like, oh shit,
my God.
Here we go. Somebody, of course, for the area. It's a shame somebody OD'd in the house. Was what it was. So I'm like, all right, shit. Well, here we go. Call the police. They show up, and they're like, yeah, the guy's dead. Whatever. After a couple days, probably, he's been sitting there. So, of course, I just happen to walk in and then start getting grilled again. They're like, all right, well, what are you doing here? It's like, all right, I'm looking to buy the house.
Yeah.
So
was the seller at that one with you, or they just kind of gave you access and said, yo,
they were
go.
Like, it's open.
Screw gun access. Yeah.
Not even that.
Not
it
even.
was just like, go through the back door. It's been open for years. I'm like,
got you.
All right. Like, I could probably just throw a number at you. Like, I don't really need to go out there. But I try to, like, run the play. Like, I try to build rapport going direct to seller. There's a lot of people that try to do stuff virtually, which works for some people, I think, maybe. Yep. But, I mean, for me, I've had sellers go into contract with me at a lesser price than somebody else that's offering them, just because I'm taking the time to go through everything with them. I have no problem.
It's the relationship, 100%. It's the rapport. Yep.
And it takes me more time to do it, but I'm getting better deals and cleaner deals a lot of the time too. So, I could probably, hire a cold caller or something like that and have somebody smile and dial. But, how much more is that going to cost me?
Yeah.
I guess, time wise. And now the older I get, I'm like, the more time I spend bullshitting, the less time I have to actually do stuff that makes money.
Of course.
So,
of course, dude.
But yeah, so that's after it got to the point where it's like, I can't do this wholesaling shit anymore.
Yeah.
So that's why I hopped in the state police for a little bit. I was in less than a year. So it really didn't alter too much for me. Got a job down in Middletown, Delaware as a construction manager. So I had the experience just kind of like managing rehabs for other investors when I was a realtor and stuff like that. Had no idea that I could get paid as like a PM at the time, but I was like, oh, sure, I'll do it for free.
Well, you know what though? That being said, that's a great way to learn though.
And I didn't know at the time, like, I could have charged to project manage too at the time. Yeah, man. But it makes sense to me now. But a lot of the guys from California, New York that I was working with, they were like, oh, okay, cool. And they were referring their friends over to me and stuff like that. And I, of course, now know because I was free.
Yeah,
at that point,
yeah.
But
this dummy will do the work for nothing,
that's
man.
That's exactly what it was. That's exactly
Tell all
what
your
it was.
friends.
So, but that's where I learned a lot. And then, so after my stint with state police, then that's when I got into construction management. And then learned more there, and that was restoration too. So that was tough. It's not cut and dry.
Yep.
It's basically
kind of heavier rehab. Right?
It's the budgets are kind of constricted by the insurance companies. So
okay.
So just doing I got to give more context there. So it's restoration, but it was just insurance based restoration.
Got it.
So fire, water loss, stuff like that. So a lot of insurance companies will only pay so much to put something back together. So a lot of times you have, homeowners, they think they have the Taj Mahal and they don't have the Taj Mahal rather, and they want the Taj Mahal reinstalled. We're like, well, listen, the insurance budget does not allow for that.
Yeah. Don't we all want that, buddy?
Yeah. So I was like, all right, so I finally had enough of that. And I was like, you know what? I was like 28, 29 at the time. I was like, if I'm going to do this shit, I need to do it now. I got to just take the leap and do it. So that was, I don't know, 2-3 years ago-ish at this point. I was like, I'm going to start flipping full time, do some GC work on the side just because I'm licensed for it and insured for it too. So, and I'm not hunting for it, but just referral-based stuff.
Yep.
And I just use all my own subs anyway. So, that's what's kind of brought me to the point now. It's like I GC all my own flips. I'm there. I kind of go above maybe where I should sometimes, but I'm on site almost every single day. And also it's because I got nothing else to do.
I get it.
But I also, like to make sure that I know what's going in to a rehab now. I'm not just throwing shit against the wall.
Of course.
Like a lot of guys are doing, and with the lack of inventory, there's a lot of guys that are getting away with it, which is whatever. It is what it is. But I plan on doing this for a while, so I want to make sure that I'm putting out a good product too.
Yep.
And again, going back to the Facebook thing too, it's like I'll make a story sort of out of, I'll pick a rehab I know is going to be, a tough rehab, and I'll go through, start to finish. I try to be educational with it too, sort of sometimes with, throwing a little bit of comedy in there sometimes.
That's the best way. Yeah.
I have friends that are at that age now where they're starting to settle down, and it's like, hey man, like, this is kind of where I want to be. I saw you were doing this house, like, we like the area, whatever. Do you think you could do like something custom? Like, I mean, I can up to a certain point. Yeah, for sure. So, which is kind of bringing me maybe to where I want to get into like custom building and stuff like that too.
Okay.
With some new construction and stuff like that, which is its own sort of breed.
Of course.
But that I think is sort of like the next step maybe is to not, I don't want to do like, be like a big Ryan Holmes kind of that sort of giant development, but just nice, like custom sort of, maybe one a month kind of thing, or start one a month maybe.
One a month is serious, dude. That's serious.
It's funny. It is, but at the same time, it doesn't really feel like it now because there's levels to everything.
Well, that's the curse of the entrepreneur, dude, right? It's like, as soon as you summit the one mountain, it's like, oh, well, I'm here. What's next? Now I'm looking around trying to find what's the next tallest peak.
Is exactly.
And a lot of times we fuck ourselves by doing that because it's like grass is greener on the other side kind of thing. And it's not usually.
That's kind of the point that I'm at now. Is like, I don't want a giant company. I don't like to manage people. Maybe I'm just not good at it. I don't know. But I would rather stay kind of the size that I'm at now. And I have great construction guys too, which is really for flipping and building. That's it.
Yeah, dude, it's almost like a unicorn. It's like you talk to 100 people that flip houses or do renovations of any capacity. And it's like everybody's top issue is contractors.
Exactly.
That's top of the list for everybody.
Exactly. So I have been really, really lucky that, I have been using the same guys for years now. And I can go, I can send them to look at stuff. I don't need to question anything. I'm at the point now where I don't even have anything on paper with them. It's just, it's handshakes.
That's a beautiful thing.
And the kind of the way that I'm thinking about stuff now is if I can't trust you, and I don't want to do anything with you.
That's right. That's right.
And, because a piece of paper at the end of the day, what's that going to do?
Yeah.
If you need it, you get tied up in court, fine, you have something to go off of. But I don't want to have to rely on a piece of paper to, outline whether or not, or I guess solidify whether or not I can trust somebody.
Right. Yep.
And, I've gotten jammed up getting in with the wrong people a couple times. And that piece of paper didn't mean anything at all.
Well, that's the thing. The piece of paper is only good if you want to go pursue the entire legal route and you go all the way through the ringer with it and everything. And it's like, okay, I'm going to spend money, time, effort, and energy to try to prove that I was in the right contractually and, throughout the entire thing, just so it's usually not worth it.
I know. And there's some stuff I've gotten into where it has been worth it. And I get some of my buddies will give me shit sometimes for how like tedious I am with paperwork. And there's a reason for it. And obviously it's like, I've never, any paperwork that I put together or have an attorney put together, I'm double, triple checking. And luckily, knock on wood, like I've never had any issues. But it takes me that extra time, money, effort to go through to make sure that piece of paper, that God forbid, if I ever get jammed up doing something, that I did everything the right way.
Right.
And I do, just because I don't have, and probably goes back to like what sits with me morally too. Is like, I just don't have it in me to do what some of these guys do. I really don't.
Yep. Well, that's always like, that's probably like a foundational thing that just kind of gives you comfort and peace of mind.
100%. Cause like when I go to bed at night, I don't want to have to think about like, oh shit, is this guy going to come at me for this or that or whatever? It's like, I know I'm doing everything right.
Yep.
Sometimes it costs more money to do everything right, but then I don't have anything to worry about.
Well, the real frustrating part, I'm sure you'll resonate with this, is when you do everything right and you still get shit on by somebody or a situation or a deal or whatever. It's like, do you realize, like, I went above and beyond for you in your house or your project or whatever, and, you know, you're making me out to be the bad guy, and it's 100%. Like, nobody else would have handled you the way that I did, you know?
Oh, man.
It's a thankless thing a lot of the time.
I could do an entire episode just on that, you know, and especially when I was younger too. It was like I didn't know any better. You know, I didn't really leave where I grew up, you know, that often. You know, so I didn't know like the big, you know, going and starting to work in Philly, like that was the big thing. You know, it was after school, I'm gonna go move to the city and, you know, do all this crazy shit and, you know, make millions and shit like that. Whereas like that's where a lot of the fucked up people are. Yeah. Is in this, you get the movers and shakers, and I'm at the point now where it's like if somebody, I can tell if somebody's off. Like the minute that I meet him, I'm like, nah, I'm good. Like you can talk to me until you're blue in the face, but I'll hear you, but I'm not gonna listen to you. Like and now
I was just talking to somebody the other week about that, and I feel like I can identify that really, really quickly now with real estate people. But it's not as easy with other people that, you know, like, or the Instagram highlight reel in a different industry, or it's kind of like hard to pinpoint, like, oh, I got 12 fucking revenue streams or whatever. It's like, maybe you do, maybe you don't. Most of the time it's probably not, 100%. But it's a lot harder. Like dudes that are in real estate, it's like somebody that tells me they've flipped all these houses and all this stuff, and they don't know the first thing about, like, I don't know, just the structure of a deal or anything, even construction related or whatever. It's like, I really doubt you flipped that many houses, you know, like
100%, 100%. And that's what's frustrating and it doesn't make any difference to me. It's I laugh at it now. Yep. Cause I'm like, oh man, I know you're full of shit. Yep. I know you're full of shit. And it's not, I used to want to call those kind of people out and be like, no, I know you're full of shit, but what I've noticed is just time after time, that type of person, their time is limited no matter what.
Oh, dude, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. It'll be 10 years in July that I've been in the game in some kind of capacity, basically. And I've seen a lot of people come and go. Yep. And they're the people that come out of nowhere that, you know, have, you know, 2 years in the industry, and they're like starting to sell a course or something like that. I'm like, oh, fuck, here we go. Yep. Like you have no idea really what the industry is about for the most part. There might be the one, you know, one-off kind of guy maybe,
but very rare, because it's like rare. I've seen it too with guys that come into the industry and they are very successful and they make a lot of money, whether it's wholesaling or flipping, really early on. But they haven't gotten kicked in the freaking teeth yet, dude. Exactly. You know, so it's like, oh, look at what I'm doing. It's like, dude, you don't know yet. You don't know what you don't know. 100%. You might know what does work, but you don't know what doesn't work yet, and you're going to find out real soon. You know,
and just even like I try to not rip people apart with like a wholesaler that'll approach me with a deal or something like that. I let them dictate sort of how the conversation is going to go. So there's some younger guys that'll come in and I'll be like, listen, man, this is not a deal. And like, here's why. You know, if you're able to get this same property to me at this price, if you can go in for price drop or something like that, this is my number. Yep. You know, I don't care if you go in and get a $40,000 price drop with a seller and I pay a $40,000 assignment fee. I don't care. I'll pay it. Yep. You know, because this is what number works for me. But then there's on the flip side, and those guys, I'll help when I can. Yep. You know, but there's the other side of the coin that's, you know, the fast talker that's like, well, you know, there's this comp and that comp, and I'm like, listen, man, like
you can get this rehab done for $40,000. It's like, bro, have you ever even done a rehab in your life? You're gonna tell me numbers? Come on.
Exactly. So there's the last couple of days, actually, there's been somebody that's been trying to sell me a deal in Elkton, Maryland, and it's a nice spot, well and septic. Septic is, nobody maintains septic systems at all. So I'm putting one in a project right now, and I accounted for it. But it's going to be upwards near $25,000, $30,000.
Yeah, man. That's a lot of money.
And that's just what it is. Yep. You know, and that's in Delaware too, which is there's
red tape,
monopolistic to a certain degree. So like that's just what it is. But I tried explaining that to this wholesaler that brought me a deal. I was like, listen, if this is like, I have to account for this. There's no record of there being any type of work on the septic system. Yep. I'm going to budget for, and it's kind of sits back, like not farm, but it's a bigger house on a lot of land. So I was like, I might have to pump that that waste out further, like I could
you don't know.
I could spend 30, 40, maybe 50 grand on a septic system. I might not need it, but I got a budget for it. Because if I don't, then that 30, 40, 50 grand, boom, that could be all that I'm making.
That's right.
With whatever else I run into.
Yep.
Which I know I'm going to run into stuff all the time. It's just a matter of what's it going to be and how am I going to fix it and how much is it going to cost me.
Yep.
Too. So, and that's what I think having the construction knowledge now, it's a blessing and a curse. It's like, I almost wish that I didn't know more.
No, dude,
I
can relate to that.
Yeah. It's like, I can look at something and be like, well, if I do or don't do this, I know I'm going to have this problem down the road, or could have this problem down the road, which, or even like an agent, I can't stand dealing with agents. It's easy to get you. I got my real estate license to give you.
You're like, I'm allowed to talk shit because I am one, but I can't stand him. All the agents bring me your deals, not him.
No, if you're a good agent, you can bring it to me. But I do work with some great agents.
Yeah.
But then there's some
It's
other
few
ones.
and far between.
It is few and far between, and that's like I was not cut out to be an agent at all. And I keep my license active in both PA and Delaware, literally just so if there's on the off chance something that pops on market that looks like it could be a deal, I don't need to rely on anybody. Hey man, get me in there because that has happened.
You just do it, yeah.
I missed out on a couple deals because the agents I was working with, they were either out on their boat or out golfing or something like that, and like I'm 7 days a week sometimes when I have to be, which doesn't. When I say I work 7 days a week, everybody's like, "Oh, that's so much." It's like I've gotten better I've gotten better at working work into my life,
dude.
So.
Tell me more because I feel like I'm going to relate to that.
So,
yeah.
it's I even go back a year ago. Like I kind of, I guess they suffered from like that sort of hustle mentality. That's like, if I'm not up at 5:30, 6 o'clock every morning and I'm not doing something, the second I roll out of bed, I'm wasting time, and, that might apply some days, but I was like burning myself out because I was like, there's sometimes like there's just nothing I can do because I'm either like waiting on an inspection or whatever that thing is. It's like, all right, well, now, if I got to take like my uncle to the doctor or something like that, I know when that's going to be. I'll plan all my other stuff out around that. Like my sister's getting married in 2 months. I had to get a suit made yesterday. It's like, I'm going to get a suit made and then I'll go do my rounds in the afternoon instead of the morning now or something like that. So, and I'm getting better at doing that too, because that kind of leads into why I really got into the industry to begin with, was to have freedom.
Right.
Everybody, I say everybody, most people, like even agents, no matter what, people get into the real estate industry because I want freedom.
Yep.
Well, you got to eat shit for a little bit first before you earn that freedom.
That's right.
And I, early on, thought I didn't deserve the freedom. Because I was not, I didn't have a pot to piss in. There were
you hadn't paid your dues yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And now it's, I sit back a lot now. I'm like, damn, like I got a good life, man. I really do. Like I got a beautiful house and a lot of money. I'm just dumping into that to pay it off. I got everybody in my life has their health. I got everything that I could need or want, really. So there's a certain part of, once I started focusing kind of more on gratitude for everything that I did have, I kind of slowed down a little bit. And then just, I don't know if it's just coincidence, that's when I started making more money. And I started, people coming to me with money to invest now. Like, knock on wood, it's a good problem to have, but I have more investor money now that I really even know what to do with. Because there's not a ton of deals out there.
Right. Yep.
So it just comes to me now. So I look back at I just look back at like where I'm at now compared to where I was 5 years ago. And I would have done nasty shit 5 years ago to be where I'm at now.
Yeah.
So, but I got so caught up in the game and the sort of hustle that I sort of missed out on I don't want to say the journey. That sounds so cliche, but like, 6 years ago, I was renting a room in South Philly. Now, then I moved up to a nice apartment in South Philly. Then got to Delaware for a little bit, got a better apartment. And then I started slowly rehabbing the house that I'm in now. That, I mean, it's if I sold it, I'd probably be able to sell it for probably $750 or something.
Nice.
Like that now, which I'm never going to do because I'm going to die there now because I dumped a lot of money into it. But it's like once I I like shifted my mindset away from like I have to be busy 24/7 to hold up, Chief. Like you got to be grateful for what you got now because I want to slow it down. I slowed it down to speed it up, basically.
What do you think made you even interested in kind of exploring that idea of, all right, maybe I don't need to grind every single day, every single waking hour?
I really don't know what the turning point was with that. It's just, I was like, fuck, man, what did I get myself into doing this shit? I got into it to have freedom, and I have the opposite.
You're doing the opposite.
And I'm doing the opposite.
Yeah.
I bought myself a really expensive job.
Yep.
This is why I left my last job. So I was like, and this is like relatively recently too, where I was getting up at, 5 a.m. when I was like, fuck, I gotta figure out what to do today.
Yeah.
And now I got my weeks planned, stuff that I know that I have to accomplish. And then, when I'm not doing what I have to do, I'm hunting for deals, but I'm not doing it at, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning or 9, 10 o'clock at night anymore.
Right.
It's just like I work it into when I can work it in.
Yep.
And I got a lot less stress now. And it's like I'm actually able to enjoy sort of what I have worked for all these years. But the domino didn't really fall for like the last couple of years. So, but it all kind of shifted when I was like, you slow down, kid. Like you got to realize what you have now.
Yeah.
So, and
was it kind of like at that point, like you just kind of felt overwhelmed, like you had too many projects or too much stress or too much shit going on?
It was a culmination of I think a lot of those things. Honestly, it's like fuck. I'm like I have a lot going on. Well, let me back up. I was busy, but not necessarily productive.
Okay.
So, whereas now it's like I have my busy days. I'm sure probably better than anybody.
Of course. Your
busy days, like the 12, 14, 16-hour days, they still exist.
Yep.
But then also with that, so do like the 4-hour days too.
Yep.
So it was finding that happy medium of, all right, why did I get into this shit in the first place? I was like, okay, maybe I'm a glutton for pain some days and like a lot of bullshit, which is obviously, not the case, but I like it a lot. I like to hustle, but not every single fucking day.
Yeah.
And,
dude, it'll kill you. It'll burn you out.
That's I got to the point where I was like, maybe I'll just go like, I'll go get a job. I'll go back to, I'll start my law enforcement, stint over again or something like that. Like maybe that's what I got to do. So, and that's the shit that nobody talks about too. And I'm real big on like talking about the stuff that nobody else likes.
Totally
to talk
with
about.
You, bro. Totally with you.
It's the social media world of everything is unicorns and sunshine and shit all the time. When a lot of times,
not, dude.
It's not like that at all.
Yep.
And I think that, and I don't know why. I don't really know much about any other industries, but specifically the real estate industry. Like there's this glamour behind it.
Yep.
Of like, oh yeah, I'm a real estate investor. It's like I don't even like talking about what I do because it's the same fucking thing every time. If I talk to somebody that's not in the industry, it says, oh, like HGTV?
Yeah.
Every fucking time. I'm like, absolutely nothing like HGTV
Yep.
at all. And
it's a blessing and a curse because it does bring awareness to what we do.
It does.
In a way.
It does.
So people are kind of primed and they think that it's sexy. You know?
That's the thing too, is it's like, and some days it is.
Yep.
After you sell something and you're looking at a nice 6-figure check, you're like, all right, this shit's not that bad.
Yeah, it was worth it.
And it was like, all right, that was a motherfucker to deal with, but like, all right, it's still.
Then once you're grinding in the weeds again, it's like, oh man,
like,
this is.
And but that's the way that it is.
Yep.
But there's this sort of glorified sort of
bullshit,
really, that comes along with it that nobody talks about.
Totally agree.
Or I don't think that people are real enough about it too.
Yep.
And that's just through the last decade of doing this shit. I went through the early stages of like, oh, this is how I think it is. I bought into I was sipping the Kool-Aid basically.
Yeah.
And then,
dude, we all do it.
Oh yeah. And then, some people, once they figured out it's, kind of really what the industry's about, like, this kind of fucking sucks.
Yep.
But, I just stayed into it because I was like, I really don't know what else I'm going to do. you know, so I like forced myself to stay in it because I kind of was thinking long term, like I like no wife, no kids, nothing like that. So I can afford to be selfish, but I'm thinking when I do have a wife and kids and stuff like that, I want to be able to have that foundation for them. So a lot of the bullshit was for my future family, really. Because going back to what I was yapping about earlier, everybody in my family worked their ass off their entire life.
Right.
And, you know, my dad's, you know, in his 60s now, still working just because he'll go fucking crazy if he sits around now. But I want to be able to not have to do that and pick and choose what I do when even in my 40s or something like that. So I'm thinking about all that in the back of my head this entire time. I was like, don't lose sight of like the why, you know, and, you know, to even take that deeper too, it's like my grandfather came from Italy after the World War II. So knowing what he accomplished here with literally nothing, like a lot of other people when they came here during that time, I was like, fuck, man, if I die poor and die without what I want, it is 1000% my fault, period. I, you know, of course, didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth, but I grew up with parents that worked their ass off for me and my sister, grandparents that worked their ass off for my parents and me and my sister.
Right.
So if I don't die with what I want or what my family is going to deserve, maybe that's on me. So,
I love that.
So that, and then also I'm hell-bent on getting a shore house too. I want a shore house so bad. So
where at?
I love Ocean City, Jersey.
Okay.
I love Ocean City.
All right.
You know, I like that it's dry too. I don't drink at all. So it's like a lot less bullshit there than like the other shore points or whatever. But I also want to be able to, like, my parents are getting close to retiring. I want to be able just to be like, here's this key. You guys go relax.
Go relax. You know? Yeah. Dude, that's cool.
You did it. You gave me and my sister everything we could have ever needed to set us up. Go relax.
Yeah.
You know, you guys did it. So I keep that in the back of my mind now too. Which is like some days I'm like, fuck, let me just throw my fucking hands up, sell the rentals. Like, fuck it. I'll do something. I don't know what I'll do. You know.
Yep.
But then I keep in the back of my mind, it's like, nah. That's a bitch move. Don't do it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I think about that every week, though, at least.
Believe me.
You know.
Believe me, I get it, man.
You know, but I think that just kind of comes along with, you know, that's the nature of the business. It's not as glorious as I think a lot of people sort of paint it to be.
Dude, and that's the thing. Like, I think about that often. And for a while, I was on the other end of the spectrum. I started like questioning myself. I'm like, I'm sounding like a negative bitch on Facebook because I'm only sharing like kind of the bad stories and the unsexy stuff. Yeah. So I kind of had to check myself. I'm like, I don't want people to think I'm complaining because I'm not complaining. Yeah. It's like I'm trying to share and show the reality of what happens in some situations, in some cases. Yep. But I'm also trying to share it as a lesson. It's like, oh, this happened to me. It cost me a lot of money. Mm-hmm. It cost me a lot of emotional fucking damage.
Oh my God,
and I'm only sharing it so hopefully one person takes a little sliver of insight from it and doesn't do something maybe the same way that I did. So if they ever encounter this, they can, you know, do with it accordingly.
Exactly. And that's kind of like, you know, I didn't really, when I got started doing this, just in the real estate industry in general, I had no guidance at all. Not a woe is me. Like, I had nobody helping me because it's nobody else's job to help me get to where I want to be. But I try, if somebody approaches me the right way now, I try to be the guy that I wish that I would have had, even 5 years ago or something like that. But what drives me fucking nuts now is people that I haven't talked to in years that'll come out of the woodwork and they're like, hey man, I see you're doing okay. Do you mind if I pick your brain over a cup of coffee?
Pick your brain. I'm like, pick your brain.
And it drives me up the fucking wall. I'm like, and I have a hard time saying no.
Me too.
But at the same time now, it's like, listen, man, I'm depending on who it is and the approach, honestly. It's like I really don't have the time to, man. And then I have some people like, oh, well, I'll come to one of your jobs. I'm like, that's not. I was like, dude, if you really want to know, $250 an hour. I'll tell you anything you want to know for $250 an hour.
It's easier. It's cleaner. Weeds out the bullshit.
Yep. And nobody ever strikes at that. But that's what would be worth it to me.
Dude, that's cheap. Yeah, that's cheap.
I know, but nobody picks up on it,
right?
Which is fine by me. I don't give a shit.
Yep.
I would not, an hour here and there is not, I'm not going to get rich off consulting.
No.
But that's how that weeds all that out too, which is funny to see because people that I've even introduced into the industry years ago, like just friends of mine, or I say acquaintances of mine even, that just come out of nowhere, just had heard nothing from them, or they got tied up with the wrong people, and now they're stuck holding their ass.
Yeah.
And come back to me, which, it's not a lot, but it's few and far between, but it sticks out to me because it aggravates the shit out of me.
Dude, I totally understand. So I'm sure you get it too. And it's like, it's one of the things that, I don't know, I guess I feel that when people come to me and they're like, hey, I want to start flipping houses, or I want to start doing construction of some sort. Like I want to start doing my own purchases for BRRRR deals that I'm going to hold on to, whatever.
Or the people that are like, oh, I want to get involved in real estate. Just blanket statement.
Right. So. But that's actually a little bit easier to just kind of point them in the right direction and say, okay, well, go here, do this, right? Yeah. But it's like the people that come to me and they want to do some form of construction heavy business, right? Yeah. And they have no construction background. They don't have family or friends that are in the industry. And ultimately, they don't even want to learn about construction at all. They're like, I just want to hire everything out. I want to hire a GC and be able to be profitable. And, maybe I'll go to a job site once a week to take pictures so I can post my highlight reel. It's like, dude, I don't know how to help you. Like, legitimately, me having been in the industry as long as I have and done what I've done, I don't know how to help you because everything that I have built upon is the foundation that, I know construction, right? It's like I grew up around it and everything. And then once I started to take the business seriously, because I was never professionally employed in any trades, but I fucking did everything. It's like I plumbed an entire house. Didn't know how to do that until I did it. I rewired a whole house. Didn't know how to do that until I did it. Right. But it's like now I can look at it and it's like, well, I can do a little bit of everything. But more importantly, it gives me the ability to manage and oversee people that are going to do something on my project. I can walk into a place. I know what's needed and what's not. You know?
And to piggyback off that, the trades that you end up working with at that point, they're going to respect you a lot more.
Yeah.
And that, because you can speak their lingo.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, even when I was working for the restoration company I was working for, I didn't know my ass from a hole in the ground at all. So, I was trying to talk to guys that have been in the trade for 15, 20 years. And I'm the green guy coming in. You could have told me fucking anything. I believe you.
Yep.
All right, cool. Sounds good. Whatever it was. Yeah, sure. Whatever, man. Sounds good. But now, and it was just, they were going to do whatever they're going to do. It was going to be easier for them.
Yep.
Now it's being able to walk in with whatever trade it is and kind of bounce stuff back off each other at that point and figure out what the easiest way is going to be, or whatever the easiest thing is going to do, or what am I trying to say? Like the easiest way just to even make a schedule.
Sure.
At that point, it's, I just left everything open-ended at one point. It's like, whenever you get to it. Now it's like, I'm asking every trade how long it's going to take, to do, whatever,
Dude, coordinating everying with different trades and everything like it.
Yep.
It's serious, dude.
It's a ballet almost.
Yeah.
It's a ballet, and just the sequence of construction itself too. Is, like a toilet's got to go where a toilet's got to go, so I always go plumbing first. And then depending on, availability and stuff like that, usually HVAC next, and I'll get temp power out somewhere if I have to, but then, you can wrap wires around, whatever, generally. But, all that I know guys that come in, they just do everything totally fucking ass backwards.
Yeah.
And then they got to end up doing the same thing twice, which that was me at one point. I was like, whatever. I'm trying to make sense, I guess. But, now just the whole sequence, it's, if you don't know that and you're trying to do everything on your own, you're done.
Yep.
And that's why a lot of like the fast talkers, like they don't last very long.
Yep.
They'll go in, hire the GC. The GC makes all the money.
Yep.
Which more power to them. They're there to get the job done.
GCs and the lenders, they make the money, dude. Yeah.
That's it. Oh, I have some really, really great lenders, and I'm happy to pay what I pay with them because it's a couple text messages and boom, deal's done. That's it.
It makes all the difference in the world, man.
God. Yeah. It's like I'm not, dealing with. I'll go to a couple hard money lenders here and there if I need to, but again, thankfully, it's like a lot of the money that just kind of came to me recently in the last couple of years. It's all private. It's all text. It's like they're people that that trust me. They know how I am as a person, and that if I got to eat shit, fine. They know they're going to get their money back.
That's right.
And knock on wood, it's never been like that. But at the same time, it's like, you know, I have guys that are lending out, you know, $500,000, $750,000 at one time, and not even think twice about it.
Yep.
Just off a couple text messages.
Yep.
And, you know, send them a couple comps or whatever, and a real brief scope or whatever, what I think my budget's going to be, which I'm usually within 5-10% most of the time, you know, minus the oh shit moments, of course. But that's what I think people expect right when they get into it.
Yeah.
Is that.
No, that happens. And the progression of how it actually works is awesome. Like when you actually think about it, like, you know, as a process, like I had to grow as a person, eat shit, do the wrong things, maybe lose some money on some projects. But now I'm more experienced and basically I'm worthy of somebody to trust me with $500,000 off of a text message.
That I think, going back to what I was yapping about before, is like, that was part of the turning point for me, where I was like, holy shit, okay, look at what I did. And I didn't realize what I was doing at the time. The first room that I rented, I was just with, you know, friends of mine, but I was still renting a room nonetheless. So 21st and Passyunk in South Philly. It was this little like rundown crack shack kind of like half rehab place. Landlord, great dude, but like he bought it for like $100,000 back in the day. Like he would periodically update stuff, but it was like a mix of stuff from like, you know, the 70s with a mix of stuff from like early 2000s. Like, and I have a picture of myself in that room, and I did it kind of thinking ahead. It's like, all right, I got to show myself like the progression of me as a person and all the like the stuff that comes along with growing as a person too. So now I did that in the next apartment that I had, and then the next apartment that I had. And then now to where I'm in my house that I'm in now, I'm like, all right, kid. Like you fucked up a lot along the way, but you didn't stop, and you went from a $400 a month room to a $750,000 house.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And then that's kind of when I was like, all right, maybe I got to sit back, be grateful for what I have, realize I put the time in, and maybe, you know, I kind of deserve what I have now.
I love it, dude.
You know, and that is, I think that was largely the turning point. Honestly, really within the last year, I was like, all right, shit, I've been going so hard without kind of realizing the path that I was going down.
Yeah.
Like, and then like all the stress just kind of went away. You know, well, a stress was
not
like,
all of it, but I know exactly what you mean.
You know, it's like I have to get to this point. You know, and then I get to that point. It's like, oh, okay, what's next?
Yep.
And then, you know, then you get to whatever that next, like the next level, and you're like, all right, you know, when is enough going to be enough?
Right.
You know, which is
never is the answer
exactly.
when you're chasing. So I think, dude, that's the big difference between like chasing and attracting, right?
Yeah.
And so much of it does tie back to, and it's probably relevant in why we were talking about it in the first place, like some of the lore of the industry and just making it seem attractive, making it seem sexy. It's like that makes people come into the industry and makes you chase what you believe is success.
Exactly.
And it's not really success. Like there's more money this direction, right? There's no question. There's more money.
Yep.
But is it what you really want? But I don't think you can answer that like honestly and truthfully for yourself until you actually pursue it. I think anybody needs to pursue it anyway.
Yeah, and you know what? So and just recently too, it's like the idea of financial freedom has changed for me too. You know, when I was younger, it was having fuck you money and just dollar bill or, you know, 100 just going like this.
Yeah.
That was my idea of like financial freedom. Now, my idea of financial freedom is like, if I want to go to breakfast on, you know, a fucking Wednesday morning, I can do it. I don't have somebody breathing down my back saying, you were 10 minutes late today. Like I've had it at, you know, other points in my life. It's, or, you know, it's like, you know, I can get my niece or something like that. You know, I can pick her up from school one day or something like that. And I don't have to, you know, beg for a half day or beg to go use the bathroom or something like that. You know, it's being able to control your time is like, you don't need to make $1 million a year to be free.
Yeah.
You know, sure, that could be the goal.
But you have to actually think about that and kind of conceptualize it and define it in your mind, dude. Like I remember it sounds stupid, but I think it was probably only 2-3 years ago that I realized that like every time that I like went to a gas station, I'd be looking like, I've always had big V8s until now that I have electric, right? But like, it may cost $100, $120 to fill the tank. And I would look at it and it's like, oh, it's at $60. Should I just cut it off there? But probably about 2-3 years ago, it's like, it just became a brainless thing. It's like, no, I just fill the tank, man. And the reality is I had the money to do that long before that, but I stopped worrying about it a couple years ago.
That right there is, I was scared of money. And growing up, it was, my family was great, but we were never rolling in it, so it was, early 90s to growing up, early 2000s, like things were a lot different then than they are now. Then it was save your money, save your way to retirement, yada, yada, yada. Well, like those days are gone. They're gone. You can't save money anymore.
No.
So the only way to have I think at least a fighting chance for the future, just to make more money.
Yep.
Which seems like such a simple, like maybe an arrogant thing to say, but like you just got to make more money.
Yeah.
So talking about the gas thing though, it's I also was like, so I got a big ass truck now. I got a nice Duramax that I love. It's got a 36 gallon tank, and with diesel at $4 a gallon, like it's nothing to blow $1.40, $1.50, just
easy.
And that's what it is. And sometimes I'm doing it twice a week. Sometimes it's a work truck, and it might be more than I need sometimes. But like I closed on a place last week. It came with a fucking camper, so I was like, "Fuck, man! Like I got to rip this thing out of here." So I hook my truck up to it, rip the bitch out, and but when I got it, even a year ago, I was like, "Fuck, like should I stop it at $75 or whatever?" And now again, it's just like I had the money too.
Yeah,
but
of course.
But I was scared.
There's still something subconsciously, and that probably does come from being young and the way that your parents handled money and everything.
Exactly,
and it's like when you have financial issues, which everybody does when you're young and you're just starting in anything, and then you kind of just develop those, I don't know, not helpful qualities subconsciously around money. And it's like, it's a scarce thing. Am I gonna, is this gonna bounce? Am I gonna overdraw my account? I've overdrawn my account when I was in my fucking 20s, dude. It happens.
I remember my first check that I got from a wholesale deal, it was $1,200. It was the biggest check I ever got. I was like 22. I was like, fuck, man. I like took the day off.
This is it, man.
I was like, fuck, man, I got some money now. And then it's like, I mean, I'm spending, it's nothing to spend 20, 30 grand a week now.
Yeah.
And I don't even think about it.
Yep. Which
again is like, that's, I think, part of that growth thing where it's, after I'll sell a place, I'll go to, I'm it's kind of ironic talking about this. I refuse to take wires because the bank that I use, Truist, and their business wire fee is like $65. Okay. So I like refuse to pay it, but so I'll take a check, I'll go put it in the bank for, it's a 6-figure check. And it's like, I don't even think about it. Which again, it's, maybe the whole money, it's just kind of a game almost, maybe to a certain extent.
I get it. I get it.
But at the same time, it's like going back to the gratitude thing. It's like, holy shit. Like there's people that will never, ever be able to do that, or never hold a check like that.
Right.
And I'm, late 20s, early 30s doing that. And I don't even think twice about it now. Mm-hmm. So it's, that scared money, don't make money, sort of logic now is what I sort of subscribe to. And
man, it's real, dude.
Once I stopped being scared of money is when it started coming to me, which I don't know, the whole law of attraction thing, I always thought that was like, it's one of those chintzy sort of things.
It sounds like woo-woo bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I mean, there was a flip that I closed on maybe a month ago. The guy that sold it, and it was a family house, whatever, he didn't know what to do with the money. So he's like, can I give it to you? I was like, yeah. Sure, if you want. I didn't go hunt for it. I wasn't like, hey, what are your plans for this, your proceeds here? He gave me a call out of nowhere. I'm like, oh, I saw his name pop up. I'm like, oh, fuck, I know this probably is not good. And because I just, after somebody sells a place, it's usually an issue afterwards, whatever it is. He's like, well, listen, I was talking to my brother-in-law, and we his money's not doing anything sitting in the bank, and, we really like the way you handled things, and, whatever. So, would you take money if we gave it to you? It's like, sure.
Dude, talk about rapport. Like, that's incredible, man. Like, I've done a lot of deals, and I've never had a seller come to us and say, hey, would you...
It might have been a one-off thing, and even if it is, fine.
It doesn't matter. That still means the way you handled those people in that situation, they respected you at such a high level, and they saw your expertise, and they believed in you.
But and you know the thing was too is like going back to just like I may be too real sometimes, but of course it was an off market thing, and you're never the only buyer ever.
Yep.
So I took the time. I went to their house where they were not living at the place that I bought. I went to their house. I brought comps. I brought my whole scope. And I just worked backwards. I was like, listen, this is how much this is going to be. Can we agree on that? Yes. Okay, cool. Would you agree this is a fair scope, which is, my numbers, what I know it's going to cost me, not a general contractor. And they're like, that's kind of where we were thinking. I was like, okay, well, that's going to leave me at this number. And they're like, we can't fight it. I was like, well, I don't feel like you have to take that.
Right.
But I'm just telling you how I got to this number. It's not some arbitrary number that I just came up with. I'm like, maybe I'll try to lowball them. It's, Here's what my money is going to cost me. Here's what, the commission I'm going to have to pay out selling the place. Like, here's everything down to, the dollar almost. So, and I do that with almost, and that costs me deals sometimes, but I never want anybody to be like, oh, he was fast talking me or something like that. Right. It was, here's everything. And I leave it with them.
Yep.
I don't leave a contract or anything like that. I'm like, if you guys want to move forward, you know how to get a hold of me. So that was, and that the guy's name was Paul. And, he alluded to that. He's like, we were just so happy with how you treated us. So we figured instead of putting our money with a financial advisor and you're getting, whatever, 3-4% a year after, they charge all their bullshit fees and stuff like that. What, if we give you money, how much could, we expect to make? I said, I don't know, without knowing an amount, maybe somewhere between 6 to 8%, maybe. And they're like, oh, that's better than we're going to get anywhere else.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, cool. So I printed out, an agreement and I gave it to him. I was like, tell me what you think about it. Come up with a number that works for you guys and just let me know.
I love that.
No pressure at all.
Yep.
Now internally I'm like, fuck man, if this could allow me to do, another 2 or 3 projects at a time, leveraged of course. But, so, Sunday I get a phone call in the morning, like, hey, would $100,000 work? I'm like, yeah, fine. Yep. Cool. I was over there an hour later, check for $100,000, boom. And
I love it.
And that is, again, I didn't even really think about it, it's not my money, obviously. Yep. But, they'll end up getting $8,000 on top of that. I did, like a year term or something like that, just a normal, year term. I was like, but, I in the agreement, I said, this is what I'm going to use this for. Mm-hmm. I personally guaranteed the money, the company that I borrowed the money in, and then myself personally too. So I threw my ass out there too.
Of course.
So I was like, if I fuck up, dude, it's on me.
Yep.
Which I don't think a lot of people do enough. And like, they didn't ask for any of that shit. I said, this is what I'm going to do. Yep. I will put my ass on the line because this is not my money. Yep. This is going to allow me to make money and get to where I want to be and get further. Yep. But I also want you guys to feel confident with me, taking $100,000 a year. Yeah. So, and I think that's a lot of what lacks too, is just sort of that I say like a good old boy mentality, like just a handshake kind of thing. It wasn't a handshake, but it was just a simple 2-page agreement. Yep. And it was no questions. It was like, yep, here you go. And that was that. So I think that, but it cost me so much extra time up front to go through all that. Of course. It was a meeting with a brother-in-law, a meeting with a sister and like a niece and shit like that, just for this, just for $100,000, but like it's that was a good bit of money for these people. Yep. So it's a good bit of money for anybody, really. Yep. But I was like, I'll answer it. You guys can grill me as hard as you want to. And, I want to make sure you feel comfortable doing it. Yep. And that would go the same. I had the same approach with them selling the house. I was like, listen, this is how much I'm probably going to make on this. So, it's going to take me probably 4 or 5 months to do it. It would average out to whatever, maybe $10,000 a month or something like that, just on, that one project specifically. But like, you guys see everything. That's it. And that transparency has done more for me in getting deals and raising money than I think most people ever really get to that point. Yeah.
No, dude, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And especially going back to like the general public just kind of defaulting back to HGTV, right? They don't understand the numbers because they obviously intentionally glorify and simplify it, right? It's like, I bought this house for $200,000. I put $50,000 into it. I sold it for $350,000. I made $100,000. It's like, no, you probably made like 12 on that.
Yeah, really, yeah. Or I know I forget exactly what show. What HGTV show it was, but the guy that does my tattoos knows a producer that like sells those kind of shows to different networks and stuff like that.
Okay.
So, this is, he said, she said kind of thing, but I do believe it is you have some networks they'll go to an area, buy a place that's fucked up, gut it, and they'll buy it at whatever market value is. They'll gut it. They just use fake numbers. They'll drop whatever, a real 150 grand into it. They'll say, oh, we got this done for 60 grand. And I'm like, nah, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
But,
and we did the whole $150,000 renovation in 7 days.
It's just such shit like that. It's like,
we
started on Monday and we were done by next Thursday. Which with a good schedule, you can get shit done like that maybe in a month.
I can't even get permits like that, man.
That's the thing. But that too. It's like, all right, I know you're full of shit, but like if you don't know, you don't know.
Traumatizing. Yeah, that's fine.
And then it's like, oh yeah, we made $200,000 on this in 4 days. I'm like, nah, I know you didn't, but it makes for good TV.
That's
obviously.
right.
It makes for good TV. But that's what people expect.
Yep.
The people.
So you have to educate them. I mean, you said it earlier. It's educating people through the process of what is reality, And it does, it's a blessing in that it brings awareness to people and what the industry is, but it's kind of a step backwards in the education, area of it because you're starting from unrealistic expectations. Yeah. It's no different than the person that says, you're talking to them about buying their house and they're like, oh, well, Zillow said it's worth this. It's like Zillow doesn't know that you've had a tree growing through your fucking roof for 11 years, dude. Like, so now we're starting from here, which is unrealistic. And I have to anchor you all the way down here and basically bring you back to reality and educate you through that whole process and try to make you not think that I'm just making shit up because I'm not. You're being unrealistic, and
sometimes it's just not even worth.
No, a lot of times it just doesn't work out, and that's fine.
And it's funny you bring that up. So there's a guy that's done some work for me. He's like the jack of all trades kind of guy. Very, very, very good craftsman. So he had somebody refer him a deal that was it was in a state that was being represented by an attorney. He was in Malvern, great area, great house, and my buddy was like, hey, I can't afford to do it on my own. If I agree to do the construction at whatever X amount, I forget what we agreed on. It's like, you float the materials, you float your labor, I will buy materials and I'll buy the house, we'll chop things up, whatever percentage it was. So I was like, I just need to take a look at it first. So, and this place was fucked. I mean, you could drop probably $150 and not even blink. Yeah. So met the attorney there, and he was like, and I was trying to explain to him how much had to be done to get this place up, and you're Malvern too, so you can't just throw shit against the wall.
Yeah, it's got to be nice, high quality finishes.
So I was like, this is what I will have to do to hit top of the market. And all he kept saying was, you're just trying to make money on this. I was like,
more importantly, I'm trying to not lose money, dude.
Yeah, and I remember the question I asked, and he started to piss me off. So, and he was just a real condescending prick, honestly. And he was an older guy, didn't want to listen to the kid. Really, is what it boiled down to. Always. And he was, I forget. I asked him a very just arrogant question, and I was like, "Do you have?" It was something along the lines of like, do you have you ever done this before at all? And he's like, well, no, but we can talk to the appraiser and this and that. I was like, I pulled up the MLS right on my phone. I was like, let's go through it right now. I'm going to see the same shit that the appraiser is going to see. So if you want to, go ahead and get an appraisal. I don't care. But I'm going to show you the same shit that the appraiser is going to show you. Right. And he's like, no, we don't need to do all that. I was like, all right, that's what I figured. Yep. But going back to the educating thing, I was like, listen, like I'm not trying to be a prick here. I'm just telling you, like, I can't do one thing without the other. That's right. And it's just not going to work like that. But and some people you can just talk to your blue in the face and it's not going to make any difference at all. Right.
And that's fine. And it is what it is.
It is what it is. And some people, they don't want to listen. You can't help. You can't get people to listen that obviously don't want to fucking listen.
That's right.
And that's what a lot of people I think get caught up in is they think they know it all. They know it all. Their uncle or their aunt told them something. And that's gospel. Yep. Their aunt and uncle don't have any experience at all, but then I'll say something, whatever that thing is. It's like, well, no, I don't think that's true. I'm like, all right, yeah, okay, fine, whatever. It is what it is. Like, I don't care. I'm gonna keep going on doing what I'm gonna do anyway. But then those same people, they'll come back and like, well, they're the same people now that are like, oh, do you mind if I pick your brain? I'm like,
ironically.
Yeah, like,
ironically.
nah, I'm good. $250 an hour, you can pick my brain.
Yeah, if you couldn't listen to me when I was trying to help you on something before, then, like, what's the likelihood that you're going to listen to anything that I had to say now?
Exactly.
Most of the rehabs that you do, are they like full gut rehabs, or do you do any like smaller, just cosmetic stuff?
It's a mix, honestly, man.
Yeah.
So I prefer the bigger ones, just because once you open something up and you got a blank slate, it's a lot easier to start moving stuff. The little cosmetic jobs usually don't turn into little cosmetic jobs. You know, the job that you think is going to be, you know, quick kitchen and bath kind of thing, paint floor, whatever, you get into, you're like, 30 days being and out. And then before you know it, you're like, oh, fuck, the sewer line's bad. You know, I got a crack in the foundation, you know, which is really never ends up being that big of a deal, really. You know, there's these things that people get so scared of, but they'll just stay away from it entirely. Yep. Like, well, I'll take that deal. Because I know
opportunity, baby.
Yeah.
Everybody else is going to be like, no.
Yeah. I'll take it. I'll take it. But I'll account for every bit of that too. You know,
of course. Well, you got to. Yeah.
But on the flip side, there's the guys that are like, yeah, I can get this done for $20,000, and they'll blow me out of the water, you know, price wise, and I'm never going to be able to compete like that ever. And now I'm with such a lack of inventory, I'm fighting homeowners now that are trying to buy shit that probably is not mortgageable to begin with. Right. You know, and sometimes it happens that the agents that are representing the seller, they'll come back to me. I don't use any buyer's agents or anything like that. I'm like, listen, I got my, of course,
both sides. Yeah.
I was like, listen, I got my license. I got to disclose that, but I take both sides. I don't care about the commission. I want the deal. Yep. Then they always, not always, but a lot of times they'll come back and like, well, the financing fell through and we were wondering if you're still interested. I'm like, I am, but not the price that I was at before. I was like, oh, well, you know, what are you at now? So, you know, 10, 15 grand below or whatever. I was like, well, you know, I already told the seller that, you know, you'd probably be at this number. I'm like, that was, you know, 45 days ago. Right. You know?
Things change.
Yeah. And you know, I don't do it to be a prick, but it's like, you know, I'll go in, look at something. I'm like, oh, if I missed, you know, I forgot to look at the windows, which for whatever reason I forget all the time. Sometimes
me and you both, dude.
I don't know why. That's the one thing I always fucking forget, and I end up replacing it all the time. Because I mean that's one of the big things that people, you know, a double hung vinyl window is not that expensive, right? And in, you know, $500,000 and below resale, like a new window is a new window for the most part. You know, if it's a nicer area, I'll go to, you know, I'll get Pella or whatever. But most of the time, it's like people see new windows and they're fucking enamored. You know, same with a new roof. Roofs, man, there's so much money in them because most people are doing 1, maybe 2 roofs in their lifetime. Maybe. Right. So, you know, the roof that cost me $3-4 grand to do, a retail roofer will charge 10, 12 for, and they'll get it. So, but just going back to like understanding the real costs for flipping, or just even if you're, you know, going to burr something, just understanding the real costs, which I'm finding a lot of people just don't know what the real costs are. That's why I think people end up in the shits a lot of the times. They just don't know. Agreed. And a lot of times they just don't want to know. Yep. They get in for the wrong reasons. They'll hire the GC, and which is fine, whatever. But, you know, without even knowing what to look at for the GCs, you're pitching the win a lot of times.
Totally agree. And dude, just looking at it like big picture now, like to those people that come to me or you and say, hey, I want to start doing this. I want to start flipping, doing renovations, whatever. Really the question is, and I never thought about this early on in my career either, but like, dude, really, what's the value that you're bringing to the market? Like, you don't have more skills than he does. You don't have more resources. You're not more creative. You're not going to be more cost effective. So really, what fucking value are you bringing to the market?
You know what?
The answer is nothing.
No, exactly. So you know what I like to do too is anytime I buy a place, especially in a neighborhood, or if there's neighbors within like eyesight, which there usually always is, I go up, I knock on the door, I introduce myself, I give my card, I say, listen, there's going to be times where it's noisy and messy over here. I just want to let you know what's going on. If there's ever any problems, you know, give me a shout. It's like I got a script almost. I'm like, look for the big black truck. If you see that, I'm here. You know, if you need to come talk to me, whatever. And depending on some people are real standoffish. They're like, oh, you're just one of those flippers. You know, I'm like, and as soon as I hear that, I'm like, oh, fuck, here we go. And then I'm like, okay, yes, I am flipping the property. Okay. But then I'll bust out my phone. I have albums for every single place that I do. I'm like, this is what I do.
Yeah. Okay? It's going to increase your value, buddy.
And every time, again, knock on wood, people are like, oh, okay. That's not, like, I love doing like extra like trim work and stuff like that. You know, I'm going to the wholesale places for, you know, I'm not going to a retail counter shop. You know, I'm putting in marble sometimes, or, you know, nicer tile or whatever it is.
Yep.
So and I keep pushing like what something's going to be worth. And knock on wood, again, of course I'm riding the market too, but like even shitty rehabs still are not selling, you know, fast now.
Yeah.
Because if there's a shitty rehab and a rehab that I put out, I'm gonna win every time.
Yep.
I know that. There's a place in Newark that I listed in like November. I hate listing stuff in November because it's right before Thanksgiving, Christmas. Yeah. So the woman that ended up buying this place from me, she looked at there was like a month of stuff sitting, which is just that time of year. She looked at a bunch of rehabs, a bunch in like 2 neighborhoods. There was like 7 or 8 that were all just went up for sale at the same time. And out of all 7 or 8, she picked mine. And you know, it was a 340, 350 house. So not super, super high end. But you know, I spent like an extra $1,000 to do like trim boxes, like OG boxes. That it cost me an extra day's labor and like, you know, it was like $1,000 total. So, but that was the difference between my rehab and the other 6 or 7 that she looked at.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there signing all the docs at closing. The woman, she just like broke down. And I'm like, oh, fuck, this ain't good. Like, I don't do well with people crying in front of me, especially because I didn't know what she was crying for. She goes, this has been my dream. She's an older woman too. And she said, this has been my dream to have a house like this. It's so beautiful and blah, 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 blah. And
that's cool.
It was, and that's never happened to me. I wasn't expecting it. It's never happened to me before. For me, it's just like how the houses are disposable now, which is also crazy to think about. Because you know, there's people that are our age now that are struggling to buy one. Mm-hmm. You know, and I'm just, you know, you as well, just buying them like you don't even think twice about it.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, that's never happened to me.
That's really cool.
So I was like, all right, listen, if there's ever any issues with the place, I stand behind what I do. Here's my card. Give me a call. You know, and I'll, depending on what it is, you know, but in my seller's disclosures, I just am clear as day. Like, listen, I forget exactly the wording that I used, but I'm seeking profit on this. I've never lived in the house. I don't know everything about it. You know, and I can guarantee, you know, whatever warranties are transferable. Right. You know,
whatever we did, we'll honor. But it's like a lot of times people think that you built the house. It's like, I didn't build the house. We're working with what was here from 1920. You know, like
so. But you know, with this, I gave the woman my card again, and never heard from her for anything related to the house. But she, I don't know, like 2 weeks after she got moved in and all that stuff, got a text randomly from her. Of course, I didn't have her number, but she's like, oh, I forget what her name was now, but she's like, oh, you know, we're moved in here and just want to thank you so much. Like, all my family loves the place, and you know,
that's so cool.
I was like, fuck, man, all right, that's cool. So in terms of like bringing value, I'm like, all right, you're doing it. It's cool. It's cool. It's not shit that I expect. It's a business. I want to make money out of it, but like the cherry on top sometimes is that. Yep. You know, and it's like, all right, man, fuck these.
Well, that's an echo. That's the proof that what you did is valuable, and not only is it valuable, but it's actually appreciated, which is kind of one level beyond valuable.
That's what I never expect it, but I see it more, and maybe it's because I'm more conscious of it now. Like, I'll see people that are buying what I do, like that's going to be probably more often than not their forever home.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, which is, and I'm going like, what sits in the back of my head is, what would I want to move into? Do I want to move into a place that's just slapped together with a bunch of bullshit and you know, shitty material and shitty,
gonna fall
shitty
apart
work?
and
because then that's where the
it's a bad taste in everybody's mouth, and that's why flippers have a bad name. That's why,
exactly. And even like a lot of the inspectors that I deal with now, like Newcastle County, they have a lot of the same inspectors. So I got a separate company set up just to put, so in Delaware, you cannot pull your own permit as a homeowner if you're not going to live there. Or if you
Oh,
don't
really?
live.
Okay.
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I figured that out the hard way too, because I bought it.
Naturally.
And I went to go yeah, of course. So I was like, well, fuck, I'll just set up a different company, the general contracting company. That's what I did, and it's fine. So anytime, now depending on the inspector, there's a couple that are like OG kind of inspectors that have been around when I was working for a restoration company, and now they saw me spill over into doing rehabs and stuff like that. They're like, oh, we see your name pop up, and we just kind of know that, like, we're not going to have any problems because I'm there for every inspection. And whatever, I'm at the point now where it's like I can send someone, if I miss stupid shit, I can send them pictures and they'll pass me.
Yeah.
Which, other guys, they're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, you're waiting another week for them to come back out. Yeah. Everything's held up.
They'll hit you with a reinspection fee and all that stuff, which is like $50 and whatever. But it's taking that extra time to go through and like even clean up a job site before an inspector shows up. So there's just shit not everywhere. Yeah. So they don't start looking for stuff. Not that I'm doing everything the way that it should be done anyway. Yep. But a lot of guys are not. So, and I think I got it down now to the point where like homeowners are seeing it now. There's some agents that are starting to come to me now that are like, hey, like, are you close on anything? We got some buyers. Can you keep it off market? I'm like, well, you can pay the off market price, right? Okay, and there's no benefit to me keeping it off market. Yep. I explained that to. I was like, listen, I have one of the only places that's going to be done well within like a mile of where your client's looking. There's no benefit to me listing it or selling it off listing market. It. Yeah. It's like I will list it. Here's what my off market price would be. Which is never anything ridiculous. It's just this is what
it's a premium though.
It is.
It's got to be.
It is, and it's like if it doesn't appraise, sorry, but. You got to cover whatever that gap is, but that's the risk that you run with that.
That's right.
So again, I know what I'm putting out, not in like an arrogant way, but I really do enjoy looking at a really nice finished product.
I get it.
And
I get it.
I mean, there's walking into some of these places, man, it's like, it's tough to see how some people live for whatever reason. People, distressed real estate comes with distressed people, distressed problem comes with everything. Mm-hmm. I end up being a therapist most of the time.
Yeah. So most of it. Yeah.
It's I can't tell you the amount of times I've been sitting at like, somebody's kitchen table, and we'll go through a contract that'll take like 5 minutes to go through or whatever, and then I got to sit there and listen to like, why the baby dad ain't shit, or why somebody got divorced, or why somebody doesn't talk to like their kid anymore, or all that stuff that like. Is really none of my business, but people feel comfortable talking about it, so I'm going to listen. Yep. Just because a lot of times that reasons why they're selling anyway. Yep. And then in the back of my mind too, I also think like fuck, like these people most of the time are selling the one asset that their family will ever have. Yep. And for me, it's like buying candy now, but like this is a big deal for these people, a lot of them. So. How would I want somebody to treat me if I was down and out, selling the one thing that could have potentially, made my life better, put me in this, in a better direction, but now I got to sell it because of X, Y, and Z. Yep. So, that's the shit that nobody talks about either. Is sometimes, you got to pick your battles too, doing it, and that's one thing that I've gotten better doing. I got better with picking my battles over the years too. Whereas I'll walk into some places now, it's like I don't have the time to deal with this shit. Yeah, really.
You mean like deal with that person's story or their situation or whatever? Yeah,
yeah, and it's that. Or if I'm like, listen, I'll listen to this, but like I gotta, we gotta speed it up a little bit. Yep. And then everybody's like, oh, I know you're busy and whatever. And some days I'm fucking balls to the wall from the time I wake up to when I go to bed, and then some days it's like, all right, yeah, I can sit here and bullshit with the people. Yep. But again, it's like how would I want somebody to either treat me or somebody in my family, grandparent or aunt or uncle, somebody that's down and out that had something shitty happen to them.
100%.
And now they have to sell the place they lived in forever because of whatever reason. Yep. And that gets emotional for a lot of people too. Yep. So again, I've had people at a closing table, they're sitting there signing paperwork, and they just start fucking crying. And I know why. I don't ask why because it's it's clear, but it's they're selling the family house because they can't afford to keep up with it anymore. Yep. And every time if I give people the options. Like, listen, if you want to come back and see this when it's done, you are more than welcome to do it. Don't feel like you have to, you know, but if you want to see what I do to it, you can come check it out.
Yep.
You know, and people, most of the time, every now and then you'll have people like, nah, I don't want to.
Yeah.
You know, which fine. But more often than not, it's, you know, I would love to come see it. And then they walk in and then they start, you know, breaking down. You know,
See, I've never had that. For me, it's most of the time people say they do want to come see it and then they never actually do.
Really?
Maybe it's just because they simply look at the pictures or whatever.
Oh, maybe that. Or I'll send like the listing link when it's done or whatever. But if somebody's local or whatever, I'm like, listen, I'll be here if you want to swing by. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You know, and
that's
I don't
cool,
know.
dude.
Every 2 or 3 out of 5 times, maybe it's because I keep everything so local too, you know, which has helped a lot. You know, when I was younger, it's like I'll do a deal anywhere. I don't give a shit.
Yep.
But then I spend half the day driving around for nothing really. So now I try to keep everything within like a half hour. So I can do all my rounds either first thing in the morning if I have to, or if I'm at one job, something goes sideways in another job, I can shoot fucking right over.
I love that.
Which has helped a lot too.
I love that. That makes a big difference.
Big time.
Yeah. I've done the same, man. I've taken on them projects that are 2 hours away, and
well, it's funny. I've watched some of the stuff that you've done like downstate in like Milford or
dude. Yeah, I had a great one down there.
Did you?
It's like,
So-
it was so simple, man. That was my only success story with one that was far away. I've had failures, but that was a success.
Well, it's funny because I was like, what the fuck's he doing all this down there? I was like, I don't know, whatever. It's none of my business.
What a crazy ass.
Yeah, I was like, fuck me, he's got bigger balls than I do. I'm not doing it. You know, but it also keeps it easy for the trades too. Right. I'm able to not control my pricing, but it's like
you know what pricing is.
I know what I can expect because it's like, and a lot of these places that I'm buying too, I'm purposely buying that are in the same neighborhoods. They all are built at the same time, same issues. It's easy for subs to come in and out. Like it's all like methodical now. It's just because I know I'm able to control my costs. I know what I'm going to get into most of the time now. Yep. You know, with the one-off stuff that is outside where I'm kind of farming, but you know, just within a couple miles, there's a few thousand houses for me to pick from. Yep. So, and you know, buying people that are always buying, selling stuff that I like buying burnouts too a lot.
Burnouts are good.
You know, so it's been a lot of trial and error over the years, and now going back to what I was talking about before, just that whole gratitude thing. It's like, holy shit, I actually have a business now, you know, and like I know shit now, and I'm actually able to talk the talk and walk the walk now. Where even a few short years ago, it's like I thought that I did, you know, but now it's like, okay, shit, you have people coming to you to give you money. You have people referring stuff to you. You have people coming to you asking for work. I got a couple guys that are actually like on payroll now working for me.
I love it.
That worked for the last company that I worked for. We all worked together. They were in a different part of the company, but they got let go for whatever reason. Called me like, hey, do you need anybody? Because we'd love to come work for you. I'm like, maybe. So we started off just kind of like an hour, not even like an hour. It's like a project-based kind of thing. I was like, this is what I want done. This is how much I'm paying. So all these guys just start blowing shit out of the water. And I'm like, all right, fuck it. I'm going to have me a crew now.
Yeah, dude. Cool.
So, but again, it's like, I never in a million years thought that like I'd have people coming to me to try to work for me, which it's even talking through it now, it's kind of sick because I don't know, it's like, all right, maybe I am doing things right. Yeah. You know, because for a long time, I don't know, am I cut out for this shit? Am I doing shit the right way? Where, you know, even talking through some of this stuff, it's like, all right, I just got $100,000 show up out of nowhere. You know, I got people that are bringing me deals that they're not bringing to anybody else. You know, like I said before, everybody loves having a guy. Mm-hmm. So I go talking to the neighbors talk. It's like, oh, you need whatever, you need work done, you need to sell a house. That's who you want to call. Yep. So then it's the rapport's already there, you know, and I try to treat everybody the best that I can treat them given whatever the scenario is. And it's getting to the point now where like any referrals, like they're just not talking to anybody else. You know,
I love it.
Which, knock on wood, grateful for every bit of that. But so, I mean, all in all, man, it's like once I started thinking about how grateful I am for everything that I have in my life is when like the work stress is one thing that's never going to go away. Yep. but all the other loud noise in the background just kind of went away.
Things are clicking.
Yeah. And I'm like, all right, maybe I got something now. You know, like not like I could go sell a company or anything like that now, but it's like, all right, I have a good setup to give myself the freedom that I wanted 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, which is like this allows me to do this now.
That's exactly right, man.
You know?
Yep.
You know, I got some stuff set up for tomorrow too, for like some social media type stuff. So it's like, all right, like I'm kind of doing it now, which is kind of sick, you know, because little, you know, 22-year-old Matt would be like, all right, shit. Okay. 32-year-old Matt kind of got it together now.
Yep.
Which, you know, thinking about just the whole levels to everything, you know, was like, all right, maybe it took me time to slow down to realize like, all right, you're doing okay. Just stay on the gas. You know, I want to get to the point where I'm doing, you know, one, maybe two a month. I got the money to do it now. I got the crews to do it now. And then see just kind of what that spirals into.
I love it.
I want to say.
So what's the volume right now? Like last year, how many did you do?
I did 6 last year.
Okay.
So it got really hard to find deals in the summer. I just got in. I didn't get into any bad deals. I just got into real skinny deals.
Okay.
So, and that's not kind of, I got some rentals and stuff too, which they're just kind of on autopilot now. But I want to at least try to double that this year, maybe do a couple more. And I'm on pace to do it. So I just got to, you know, I can't, I got to stay on the gas. And
so that's the thing though, that's where I start to like question, like, is that the right path? Because it sounds like where you're at right now, like you're happy, you're making enough money, like you're content with everything else that's going on. And this is what we do. We get to a spot where we're like, dude, everything's great. And it's like, let me go drop a freaking bomb in it because that's what we do. Let me double my volume, you know, let me triple.
Yeah. And I think that's just, I don't know, in my mind, that's kind of what I think is like just a natural.
But it seems like progress.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe, and I guess maybe I won't know if it's the right thing for me until I do it.
Of course.
Maybe
That's
I'll get to it
answer.
and I'm like, fuck this. I'm going to scale back. Maybe I'll do between 6 to 8 a year. And I don't know, I'll make fucking 40, 50, 60, 70 grand on everyone and live a good life, whatever. But I won't know until I get it because I don't know.
Of course, man.
It's a double-edged sword.
It is. It really is, man. Because you also don't want to feel like, oh, well, I'm not growing. I'm complacent, and like I'm not being the best that I could be. You know, but it's finding that balance. And most entrepreneurs are unbalanced in a lot of ways. And
some good and some bad ways. And the bad way is like, there's my parents think I'm nuts. Because I'm working 7 days a week sometimes, and I'm like, but not like hard hours every single day.
I get it.
But I'm usually always doing something work related. My phone's blowing up all day. You know, I'm getting my first phone calls at 6:30 in the morning, which is fine. That's what I'm signing up for now.
Yep.
And then I'm not off the phone until 9, 10 o'clock sometimes. Yep. And it's all for good stuff. It's usually nothing bad, so I'm good with it. But it's like thinking about doubling the volume is like, that's going to double the phone calls probably.
Right. Of course it is.
You know,
of course it is.
But also like I have I don't really have anything tying me down right now. So again, my thinking is kind of like, I'll just go balls to the wall. And then when I'm really, out of wife, kids, whatever, and I want to throttle back, I can, because I kind of already did it. I have the amount of rentals that I need to kind of sustain, just daily living. And then I can sort of pick and choose what rehabs I want to do.
Yep.
I can just do, if I want to do 6 a year or something like that, just make sure there's 6 really good ones. So maybe that's the right thing to do. I don't know. And I won't know until I get there.
Yeah, of course.
But, if I get there, I don't know. I might lose my ass. I mean, hopefully not.
Yeah,
I don't plan
hopefully not. I think you'll be all right.
I'm buying in nicer areas now. Back in the day, I was like, man, I'm in like the trenches.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit because it's all I can afford, really.
Yep.
But now it's like my average acquisition cost is like between $180 and $225 now.
Okay.
So average resale, depending on where, obviously, is around 4 to 5.5.
Okay.
Roughly, real rough numbers.
Yep.
But that gets me into a nicer end buyer that expects more, obviously, on a $500,000 house.
Yep.
Versus a $200,000 house or something like that. But it's a lot less bullshit dealing with it too.
Dude, you found your niche. You found what works for you
So,
and everything, and that's a beautiful thing.
So, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of is where I'm at right now. You know, I'm starting to get out of some of my lower end rentals.
Okay.
And get into, like, that's probably going to be the next step, I think, is get out of some of my lower end rentals and get into, you know, either maybe lend some of my money out maybe, or, you know, getting some, like, not super high end rentals, but, you know, maybe B plus sort of neighborhoods or something like that.
Gotcha.
That might be the next step too. So I don't know. I mean, it's been a wild ride so far. I enjoy it. I think that I found kind of like, I'm not a good white collar kind of, you know, investor. I guess it's like I'm out there in the trenches.
You're in the weeds, man.
Yeah,
You're
I like it. I like it. You know, and I don't play the investor card either. It's like I dress, you know, I got fucked up jeans,
which
boots.
is so ironic that we're wearing the same thing:
I know.
jeans, boots, and a black shirt today.
Not planned at all. Usually I go white shirt, but since I got my tattoo done, I got the Aquaphor on it. It'll stain my white shirt, so I was like,
makes sense.
We'll go
Makes
black
sense.
today. But it's like I depending on, like, if I'm on a job site too, depending on the scenario, I'll you know, have somebody walk, like a neighbor. It's always the nosy neighbors. Like, are you the owner? I'm like, ma'am, I'm the sir,
no,
whatever.
I'm just working on a place.
I'm the contractor. That's all. But it depends. What's going on?
Yeah.
What's going on? What do you need? Do you need the owner for something? Well, we just want to see, you know, make sure there's not going to be a group home here or something like that. I'm like, well, I can't control what the owner does, but I can talk to him, and you know, then I got to play the contractor card. Most of the time, they don't remember who they're talking to most of the time anyway.
Yep.
But then, you know, I'm rolling up in my truck everywhere.
Yep.
You know, so it's not a super common thing for a lot of actual investors to roll up in a fucking giant diesel truck.
Which again, all the way back to your point, like, of when you were younger and you were just getting into it, and it's like, oh, I gotta drive the nice car, I gotta wear a suit, I gotta do all this because you think that that's like what's necessary and that's the norm and everything. But now, like, dude, this morning, a buddy of mine, like, every week for the past couple weeks, he's been doing like this breakfast that mostly real estate investors are coming to and everything. And it's like, most of the dudes are coming are guys that have just been entrepreneurs and real estate investors for, you know, 10, 20, 30 years, right? Yeah. And all of them are just like this, dude. There's not one suit in sight, you know? And it's like a lot of guys that I know that are worth 10, 20, 30, 50 million bucks.
Yep. And you never know.
They're not the ones wearing a suit.
You would never know. You would never know. And that's to take that a step further. It's the loudest guys are usually the ones that are not worth a shit at all. Yep. It's the guys just getting into wholesaling that had like their first 10, 15, 20 grand a month. Then all of a sudden they have a podcast and they're selling a course and all this shit. Yep. And I'm like, oh fuck! Like I know it's just
look at this sports car that I leased.
Basically, yeah, exactly. Look at my 4 Series BMW that's actually a piece of shit that I'm leasing. That is, and I'm still living at my parents too. You know,
I've known a couple of them over the years, man.
That was me. That was me. So I know how to spot it because it was me at one point. But yeah, I mean, the guy, like the real whales, like, you'd never know it.
That's right.
You would never, ever, ever know it. And that goes for I think really almost any industry now, but especially like locally, the real estate game, it's like the loud guys are usually the ones that don't have a pot to piss in.
Yep.
And the guys that roll up, not saying this is the case for me, but the jeans, boots, and the t-shirt, like those are the guys that you figure out, they're like, oh shit, they're worth, a couple $1 million bucks. Mm-hmm. Never would have known.
Yep.
Never
exactly
would have known.
right.
And that's kind of what that's the more I grow, the more I make, I'm falling way more into that now. It's like, I don't want anybody to know shit about me.
Man.
Which is ironic because I'm here doing this. But,
we're doing it.
But at the same time, it's like, I aside from like the Facebook thing, like I'll doom scroll on TikTok for, an hour, 2 hours at a time sometimes if I got nothing else to do. But like, I'm not out there doing reels and TikToks and shit like that.
Right.
Like I know some guys are, they're in somebody else's property or something like that.
People do that, man.
Hell yeah,
it's like, oh, look, I'm having this. It's like, no, you're not.
Yeah, it's like, no, I know you're not. And it's like, even people
that's weird.
It is. It's strange.
Yep.
It's weird. I'm like, how can you sleep knowing that like you're just bullshitting people left and right?
So weird.
There's a couple bird dogs that I had years. I can't even tell you how long ago, years ago. And it was a brother and sister team, and they were hustlers, but they had never closed a wholesale deal ever in their life, and they sold 2 courses for $500 each on wholesaling.
Really?
Yep. And sure, they made $1,000 and sold 2 courses that they put together after never having done a deal ever.
Interesting.
And I'm like, that's all right. So if that's 2 people with no sort of following at all, what are like some like the guru guys?
Yeah, man.
And this is not true all the time, but a lot of the guru guys, they're making more money on selling their courses than they are actually doing.
No, I would say almost all the time.
Yeah.
That's probably true all the time.
Yeah. I mean, and which is fine, you know, and the people that have
For the ones that actually do know what they're doing and provide value,
I respect for them.
great. You know,
100%.
Yeah.
I got respect for them because I'll be honest, I don't want to create more competition for myself. Then they're on the flip side, it's like, oh, there's plenty of deals for everybody. Yeah, maybe there is, but like, I'm not going to go teach people. It may be a patience thing for me too. Like, I don't have the patience to go and, you know, sit there and try to sell a course or put a course together. Because one, it's going to take away from like the real money for me, at least, like flipping stuff, you know, or building a rental portfolio and all that stuff. But which is why it takes a lot of time to do that. Which I think a lot of guys that are selling courses and shit like that, the gurus that, you know, have never done a deal ever.
Yeah,
you know,
that's ironic and real crappy too.
It is, and there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of them out there, and that it doesn't sit well with me. Yeah, you know, because I had the wool pulled over my eyes plenty of times, you know, and I sipped the Kool-Aid, you know, and I lost money doing it. Got into fucking shit partnerships. And I learned my lesson every single time.
So what was that? What was it that you did a partnership on? Was it on like flips, on rentals, on wholesaling?
Yeah. So I got to be careful with what I say because there's still some stuff going on with what I'm alluding to. But you know, people that you think have your best interest in mind sometimes won't, and will get you jammed up. Yeah. With you know, there's always a solution. But it's what sort of bullshit are you going to have to get through that solution or get to that solution, I guess, rather. Yeah. And, you know, when I was younger, I'd go into a partnership with anybody for anything. It didn't matter. I was like, yeah, we all want to eat, right? Now it's like, I will not bring on active partners for anything. I'll bring on LPs all day long. Or if somebody just wants to lend money, sure. Yep. But I'm confident enough in my ability now to get shit done, whether it be to underwrite a rental or a rehab or whatever it is. I don't need active partners anymore. I don't want anybody in my way.
Dude, I totally understand. Like I had 2 failed partnerships also. And I think for me, a lot of it was kind of like what you're saying there. Like when I was starting, I wasn't really confident enough in myself. Mm-hmm. And like, even looking back at the first partnership that I did, it was like, my partner did have all of the strengths and qualities that I lacked. So it had the grounds to be like a really good partnership, and it just didn't pan out that way. It is what it is. But like, I knew that he had strengths that I didn't. Now I still suck at those things that he was good at, but I know enough to either be able to get by or to hire somebody else to put in that role or that position to be able to, you know, take care of, admin, bookkeeping, you know, whatever. Like, I'm confident enough now. I know enough.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, and that's kind of probably a lot of what I lacked when I was younger too. I was like, oh, of course, these guys know more than I do, and sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. And I had people owe me shitload of money at one point. You know, all my money I had at the time when I was 23, 24 years old. You know, that I ended up getting back, but like I had to hustle to get it back. You know, I was like, fuck, man. It's like all my served and bartending money that I would put into projects, you know, and it was just gone, you know, and it's not a crazy amount of money. It was like 10, 15 grand at the time. But at 22, 23 years old, that was everything I had.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I get it.
You know, so, I mean, that's just one example. But like, I'm thinking, all right, I'll be able to learn from these people. I'll earn while I learn kind of thing. Yep. But I just, and I did learn. I just learned a whole lot of like what to look out for. And if, really to trust my gut too. You know, if there is, it's like walking into a house where you know there's something going on that probably shouldn't be going on. That same kind of energy, just that gut feeling of like, there's something off here. I don't know what I can't put my finger on it. Yeah. But I should just listen to myself. Yeah. You know, and that is something I really leaned into a lot as I've progressed too.
Dude, I like that. And that just made me think of something because like, I usually with people and situations, I don't really have that intuition. Like I'm fucked up in the regard that I look at everybody for just the positive side, like, and I want to help everybody. So of course they would reciprocate, blah, blah, blah,
that
blah,
was
right?
exactly my mentality.
I would revise that statement for me, not to trust my gut, to trust my wife. Because, dude, my wife, like,
she'll pick up on
she has been right 100 out of 100 times. Like, oh, I just feel something with that guy or with a partner or whatever it was. She's always been right, dude, every time.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I with friends of mine too that are also in the industry. Like, I'll talk about somebody, and I'm like, yeah, they approached me about whatever this thing is, and I'm like, that could be a liability. That person could be a liability. And I'm like, nah, whatever. And then I learned my fucking lesson. And I'm like, and I look back, I'm like, God, man, if I could go back and just beat the shit out of myself sometimes, like, don't make that fucking decision. But it's all part of the whole journey to begin with.
Of course it is.
Obviously. Yep. But again, that's the shit that nobody talks about. There's this glorified, like, we're going to invest in real estate, make millions of dollars. Like, you can.
Yeah.
And once you start making money, it's like hard to stop doing it.
Yep.
Okay, it just becomes like a drug at that point almost. But it's the bullshit that everybody, I'd say probably most people go through that they just don't talk about.
Yeah, man.
I'll talk about it all day long because I don't want to see people make the same fucked up mistakes that I made.
Yeah.
You know, and up until a couple of years ago, my parents, they were just, you know, they always were pulling for me, obviously, but they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, just don't worry. And now, last couple of years, it's like, all right, we see it now. Like, okay,
that's awesome.
You're 32 years old. You almost got your house paid off. Like, okay, like you were right.
Yep.
You know, but it's they're being parents, obviously.
Of course.
You know,
they want to protect you. They want to make sure that you're not going to dig a hole for yourself.
Yeah, exactly,
you know?
exactly. And you know, I dug myself fucking plenty of holes, but I was always able to. One thing that's helped me a lot too over the years is like looking at problems and be like, all right, yeah, this is fucked up, but what's going to be the path of least resistance for me to get out of whatever the fucking hole I dug myself in? Which I don't think a lot of emotional regulation helps a lot. The new guy jitters.
That's big, man.
Yeah, because it's easy to see like the newer guys getting into it. When something goes sideways, it's like a bomb fucking went off. It's like, holy shit. Like it's like the end of the world. But now it's like, I just expect shit to happen now.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, well, whatever it is, I'm going to get through it somehow, whatever it is. But like the new guy jitters, it's like, whoa, you know, what if this doesn't close? It's like, I don't know. Deals don't close all the time. Yeah. Like it's going to happen.
Things go wrong all the time,
you know,
dude. Yeah.
I remember my first deal that didn't close. I was like, holy shit, I thought it was the end of the world. I was like, why bother doing this? And then all, the OGs that I was around at the time, they're like, yeah, nah, it's going to happen. And I was like, what? How do you guys like not care? And they're like, well, it's going to happen. Yep. And, it just is what it is. And now it's, I wouldn't consider myself like an OG type character now, but it's like, some of my friends that have had their license for like 2 or 3 years, they're just running retail shit.
Right.
They'll call me and like, what would you do in this scenario? And they're friends of mine. So I'll like give them, the what would I do thing for free, I guess. And, like it all boils down to like, dude, you just gotta throttle back, calm down, think through it.
Yep.
Like all this shit is what it is. Like, how are you going to power through it? How are you going to make sure you come out on top? Mm-hmm. Or just whatever the damage control is, how are you going to do that too?
Yep.
Which sometimes that's what it is. But there's never any sort of like there's always a solution to something.
Well, usually the only answer that's universally the wrong answer for any problem is to do nothing. Like you can do the wrong thing and just go do it aggressively when a problem comes up, and you're still going to be in a better spot than if you just did nothing, you know?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that like everything that you're talking about there is, dude, it's so applicable to anybody that's entrepreneurial in any industry. And it's the same with realtors. It's the same with contractors, everything. Like if you're an entrepreneur in any way, shape, or form, like your job is problems. So if you shy away from problems, you go find a job, dude. And I don't mean that in a condescending way, but it's like problems are what we do.
100%. I mean, and especially like you eat what you kill doing this shit. So you have you are going to have to deal with nothing but problems.
Yep.
You know, and when I say problems, it's just like, you know, it's just how you're going to get through whatever task you have to get through.
That's right.
Because whatever has to get done has to get done, whether it be something construction related or whatever it is to get a deal done.
And it doesn't matter if it's emotionally challenging for you for some reason, or it's a financial stressor. I don't know how I'm going to get the money to get this done because, you know, I'm not going to have enough cash until I sell this. Guess what? You got to figure it out anyway, man. It's like cash flow issues. What's your take on cash flow stuff related to fix and flip?
I'm still trying to figure that out. So I'm borrowing almost all my money now. So anything that I make is usually just net to me. So that's why I'm very close to paying my house off. And then at that point, I'm honestly not going to have like crazy sort of cash flow issues. It's like I will be able to just reinvest almost everything that I make. So
at that point, you're saying you're not going to have a whole bunch of like personal expenses and everything.
Exactly.
And you're still going to have cash flow shit because you're spending a lot of money every week on all the rehabs.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's the, oh God, I had something I was going to, oh, fuck.
My bad.
No. ADHD,
bro. I had to interject.
Yeah, no. I was thinking about something. I forget what it was. I'll fucking think of it. But my biggest interest, obviously, on the money is what it is. But I keep almost just a separate account for interest, and I'm always thinking ahead to where I knock on wood. I've never had any sort of cash flow issues where I'm like, I need to figure out where to get this money from.
Gotcha.
It's there's a guy that I worked for years ago for like 6 months, and I realized he was a fucking schmuck. He did a lot real fast, got over leveraged, lost his ass. So, and I keep that in the back of my mind too. It's like I cannot get over leveraged. I cannot bite off more than I could chew. Even if I find a good deal, I'll try to rip a wholesale fee off of it or something like that. Even if I want it really bad, because and again, it hasn't happened with me, luckily. But what I see with some guys that bite off more than they could chew, it starts to spiral fast.
It does, man.
You know, I mean, you got, you know, 9-10 grand a month, just in interest going out.
Yep.
You can lose your ass fast.
Dude, really fast. And that's why, like, for me, it was probably 5-6 years ago when I was flipping more houses. Mm-hmm. And I forget how many we had going on at the time. 9-10 rehabs at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was like the way I was funding them, it's like most of them, it was bank financing for like 90% of the project. Yeah. Then we would use like gap funding to put down the rest, whatever.
Yeah,
Great.
Yeah.
So it's like we had really cheap money, but that also meant we had draws and the draw process and everything. And with that many going on at the same time, it's like, it's not just the interest going out, but it's like, okay, you know, like we just spent $100,000 this week with our contractors in some capacity. Yeah. And now to get that money, I got to wait till our inspections and our draws on 5 projects next week. And it's like, we're looking at it on paper and it's like, dude, when everything sells, this is going to be great. We're going to make all this money, but I don't know how we're going to make payroll. I don't know how we're going to make it to the next draw, you know? And it's like, you got to figure it out and make it work. And we did, but draws can kill you.
I remember what I was going to say. I heard something at some point, I don't know where or what, but it was real estate investors are the richest poor people you'll ever meet.
Yeah. I like that. I like that.
I mean, luckily, the money that I borrow now, I'm getting usually 100% acquisition, and then I front all the construction, and I just get reimbursed on the draws like everybody else. But you know, it's sometimes you got 25 grand going out in a week, sometimes you got 50 grand going out in a week. So it's where's that money going to come from until you have your draws? Now, luckily, again, just through experience and knowing, you know, having the right, you know, private money and stuff now, I'm not going off draw inspections.
Right.
Or it's like videos, pictures. And what I do too is instead of just going videos and pictures, I make a giant scope of what I got done. And, you know, here's everything. And it's okay.
And you're kind of like giving it an update anyway.
So exactly. Exactly.
I like that.
So it's, you know, and it's an extra, I mean, and I do it as I go. I just got a fucking draft in my email. So as I do something or as I accomplish it, I'm just writing down what it is.
Yep.
So, and then it's okay. It's simple. Thanks. Checks in the mail. That's it. You know, and I'm like, all right, that's easy. Yep. You know, but also I'm going above and beyond to make sure that money is protected. But
of course,
you know, again, thank God, like I've missed out on deals because I'm like, I don't think I could float that, you know, which I'd rather do that than kind of say, fuck it, I'm going to send it and just kind of hope for the best.
Yeah.
That's, I think, when the people that do that are the people that probably should be doing that because they don't really have the experience to do that.
Agreed.
Or know really what to expect.
And it's a discipline thing, dude, for sure. It is.
A million percent. And that's what I, like, after I get done running around, if I do any running around, it's like whatever money I spend, I will block like an hour out to keep up with my accounting. You know, I got sheets for every single property.
So you're doing that yourself. You're doing like bookkeeping and accounting.
Everything.
Okay.
Yeah. Which, you know, some people are like, oh, just, you know, outsource it. It's like, well, okay, I could, but also like I'm borrowing almost all my money now, responsibly, obviously. I want to make sure that I know where every single fucking penny's going.
Yep.
And
I get it.
I don't want to rely on anybody else when I have the time to do it. So, you know, if I fuck something up, I'd rather have it be my responsibility than talking to, you know, an accountant or something like that. And they're like, well, I don't know. I got, you know, however many other people they got to take care of.
Right.
So, and I'm, you know, small scale compared to some people they're probably working with. So I'd probably fall lower on the totem pole.
Yep.
I don't want to run that risk of like sabotaging the fucking relationships that I built over the last couple of years.
That makes sense.
You know, or like the money that has just walked to me.
Yeah.
Really.
And
So-
dude, it does. It keeps you closer to it.
Yeah.
Also, like when you're actually keeping tabs on something as you're going through a project and everything.
And I really, really do enjoy it too. I mean, I amongst all like the chaos and the bullshit that comes along with it, and some of the days where like I'm just mentally just exhausted. Like it's not out of the ordinary for me to see, you know, sometimes an 8:30, 9:30 bedtime, I'm out.
Dude,
You
that's
know?
me every night. What are you talking about?
But I mean, there's some days where it's like, fuck, like I like to go to the gym after the day, like just kind of like take my brain out of my fucking head and put it in a jar for an hour and not think about anything. But even some days I'm like, I don't have it in me today.
Yep,
You know,
I get it.
And go home and I wake up and I'm like, all right, we're good. You know, but there's some days it's, you know, phone call after phone call after phone call. Which again, it's all for good stuff because shit is moving in the direction that it should be moving into. But like some days it's just problem after problem after problem. I remember last year, it was on my birthday. It was March 20th. I got some small multifamily in like scattered throughout central PA. And I was at one property doing a turnover because I got rid of one property manager. I was doing a turnover on my own to be able to hand it off to a new property manager with a clean slate. So I was there. I had an issue. I forget exactly what issue I had there, but it was an expensive one, and I do remember. And then I had another rental the night before my tenant's text. It's the only place that I continue to self-manage to because the tenants are pretty good. They're like, oh, our heat stopped working, and it was like the coldest fucking like day of like the year. So I'm like, oh fuck, all right, what do I do here? I was like, I never had this happen before. It's like, all right, listen, I'm gonna get you guys a hotel. I got them a hotel for like 3-4 days or whatever. And I was like, you guys go there, check in. I'll figure out what the fuck's going on with the house. And it was a row home in Lancaster City. The house next door sold. It was getting rehab. And whatever sort of fucked up work they were doing there made my chimney liner collapse inside the chimney. So I had gas furnace, gas hot water heater. So I was like, fuck, that's not good. But that's just after the HVAC tech went out there and was like, yeah, you're kind of fucked. So I'm like, all right, like, what am I going to do here? And I was like, all right, well, I'm not rebuilding the chimney. So let's abandon that. Let's go everything all electric, you know, and this is like, thank God I knew what I knew. Otherwise, they could have took me to the fucking cleaners.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
So,
it's an emergency job.
Yeah. So I was like, fuck, all right. So I would remember I was not there, but I was talking to the tech that I had out there. And I was like, it's an older house, got a 100 amp panel. I was like, fuck, I don't know if I'm going to have enough room on the panel to go to an electric heat pump and a hot water heater.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, fuck, all right, this could be a fucking problem. Because if I got to upgrade the panel, it is what it is. You know, that's $2,000, $2,500 or something like that. I had most of my cash out at that point on a couple flips. And this was on my birthday I remember because everybody's calling me, like, happy birthday. Do you want to go out to dinner tonight? I'm like, I can't. I'm fucked right now.
Yeah.
It ended up being like a $30,000 day for money that I didn't have. Let me back up. That was the day I had cash flow problems. I was like, fuck. I was like, all right, I got to bust out the fucking credit cards now.
Yeah, I get it,
but
dude.
then sold a flip, fucking one of the best flips I ever had. And then I was good.
Yep.
And I was good. You know, I went from zero money to a couple $100,000 like that. And it was and didn't even think twice about it.
Yep.
I slept better after but you know, that next month is when I sold one of the best flips I ever did.
Yeah.
There was a burnout, and I bought at the right time, and the neighborhood just skyrocketed in value, like out of nowhere.
Nice.
So I was like, fuck, like, man, if there's any God out there, he was on my fucking side for that, because it allowed me to put
a blessing.
Oh yeah, it allowed me to pay off the money that I dropped into the rentals at the time, put a big dent in my mortgage on my place. So I was like, it was just right place, right time, bought the right thing, which again, I just ride the market, but like, there's no reason not to now too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but
dude, it's funny. Like with that story, like even yesterday, it was me and my wife's 9-year wedding anniversary, and she was joking that it's like almost without fail, every time that it's a holiday or we're somewhere on vacation, it's like that's when everything goes wrong. Always. The first time that we were out of the country, it's like I had no issues with any of my apartments, and it's like everything was great for like seriously probably like 2 or 3 years, like no real issues. We land like on an island, and it's immediately we get hit with the worst storm ever. Roof blows off of one place, 3 places flooded. Like, so we have to handle all these things, and it sucks when you're dealing with it at the time, and you know it's super stressful. But at the same time, it also forced us to kind of put some different processes and people in place to kind of manage things a little bit better. Yeah. So when this happens again, but even yesterday, like my wife was joking that it's our anniversary, and we had 2 tenants. We had a police report filed against us for no reason at all. It's like we have a tenant we're evicting, whatever. The story's not worth it, but you know, great, cool. That
nothing out of the ordinary there. That is what it is.
Yeah, you know. But she's like, you know, it's natural. This is what we do. This is what we deal with. You know.
You know what? And it's funny. This year too. I the day before my birthday this year, I got into a job that I knew there was going to be septic problems, and I had had an inspector come out to. I knew I was going to fail the inspection because of where the septic tank was. But I was like, I don't know, maybe on the off chance I'll get lucky and it'll be good. And I was like, maybe there's like that much of a fucking chance, but I don't know, maybe. And the inspector shows up and he just looks at where the tank is. And he's like, I have to fail this just on where it is. I'm like, all right. And he was like one of these doom and gloom guys. He's like, you know, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you know, this is going to be an expensive one. And I'm like, oh God. And then I was getting ready to close on another place that was, I had a 50-50 shot of like closing it. And it's a deal that I worked for like over a year to it's a clusterfuck of a deal. I mean, it was a foreclosure that turned into a short sale, a divorce, POAs left and right, PFAs left and right too. Just a fucking clusterfuck. So I'm trying to deal with the septic issue. I'm like, all right, which I budgeted for, but at the time I was like, I'm fucked. Yeah. I'm not going to this is terrible. But then I like look at my scope. I'm like, oh fuck, I budgeted for this. I'm fine. I don't know why the fuck.
Really?
Yeah. So I was like, oh, I mean, I'll be a little bit over, but like maybe $5,000 over what I budgeted just for a new septic system. So I'm like, oh fuck, I'm fine. But going back to like the emotional regulation part, I like sat in my truck. I was like, all right, stop being a bitch. You're fine. Mm-hmm. You budgeted for this. You're going to close this shit. You've closed more fucked up deals before. You'll be fine. Just like fucking slap my wrist. Be like, all right, you're good. But the year before, I remember sitting in my truck again, and I'm like, you're just sell everything. Get rid of it. Just go do something fucking normal. Be a normal person, you know? But then this year, I guess there's like that year of growth too. I'm like, I had like a 5-second little hiccup. I'm like, oh man, fuck it. Like I just not answer. I was like, fuck it. I'm not gonna answer my phone. Nobody talk to me. Whatever. Getting short with people. And I'm like, oh no, you're good, cuz. Like, don't worry about it.
I get it, man.
Yeah. You know, but it's just there's levels to every bit of it, man. I think at the bottom line, it's like there's levels to how you get started, what point you get to, and then it's like figuring out, do you want to go further? Do you want to scale back? You know, I originally had bought into like, I guess sipping the Kool-Aid of having like some big company. And it's like, okay, that more money, more problems, like it's a real thing. Mm-hmm. You know, even more money changes your problems. You know, and I'd rather have money and have those problems that come with having money, obviously, than not having any money and having the problems that come with that.
Yep.
But you know, it's that's also evolved for me too. It's like I want to have all these, you know, this sick office, and which this is a sick office, obviously. But
thank you.
You know, but I just I didn't know what direction I was going in.
I get it.
Where's my niche? You know, and I think that like I found it. I'm in a good spot now. I'm going to go up to where I think the line is now and kind of, you know, step over it probably, and then, you know, either keep fucking, you know, going forward or just stick to where I'm at until I can build a pretty solid rental portfolio, I guess, and probably just be real selective with, you know, what I get into building wise and stuff like that. You know, so I want to get rid of all my liabilities, people included in that, and then just kind of, I think, stick to, you know, doing what I'm doing, I guess, really, which is, it's funny. It's, even over the years, like seeing how, you know, I keep talking about Facebook and how much I use Facebook to market and stuff like that. Seeing like, I love the Facebook banter always. Like I love it. And seeing kind of who else has also grown through the years too. And like who's real transparent. Like you're real transparent with shit. And like I know there's other guys that I can think of too that are just real with how they put themselves out there. And real with their work and stuff like that. Which it's funny to see how like how people market themselves. Obviously, it goes without saying, it like spills into their business and how successful
of course
it
does
too.
Yep.
Obviously,
absolutely.
So you know, Facebook's been good to me. It's I've got a lot of business off of it.
Yeah, man. So no question.
Like, and it's free. It doesn't cost any money.
It's free, man. One of my biggest limiting beliefs that I had, like with the wholesale company, going back 2-3 years, I remember I was looking at like P&L end of year stuff and everything, and I was looking at return on ad spend from a bunch of different campaigns that we were doing, you know, and I think we had done a little over $250,000 from organic deals that year. And I was like, oh, that's sweet, you know, because like we've dropped $500,000 in marketing. To bring in $250,000 from organic, that's pretty cool, right? But I kept telling myself, and I had been looking at this like year after year, seeing like what it was, but I always thought there was no way that I could increase organic, right? Because organic is me. That's just my relationships. That's the people that I know. That's my network. I can't really do anything to increase that. And I was having a conversation with a buddy one time, and he's like, I mean, you probably could. I was like, what do you mean? And he was just talking about like, oh, go to more like networking things, do that. And I was like, yeah, I get it. I get what you're saying.
Sure.
But dude, like, so that conversation made me start thinking about it. And I was like, the one change that I made is, well, we have a giant dry erase check now that like when somebody sends us a deal and we give them a referral fee, it's like now we use that as a social media piece. Hey, let's take a picture in front of, you know.
I've seen it. You know what? It's
people
funny you bring
reach
that
out
up.
and we did more deals from it. So it's like, I thought we couldn't increase this without spending money. And okay, maybe I spent $30 buying the dry erase check. But in the grand scheme of things, dude, it's like I probably brought in another 10, 15 deals from doing that.
And I remember when you've posted that before, and I've looked at it, I was like, that is fucking brilliant. And I don't like being in front of cameras and shit like that. I don't really like attention.
Again, you're doing a bad job.
I know, right now I'm doing a fucking terrible job of it. I know. But you know, generally, it's, you know, I wouldn't do this for somebody I didn't already have like a relationship with. Like I've looked at some of the deals you've put out before and shit like that. And so like there was that already, but it's like, you know, somebody that reached, I don't know, maybe I just haven't gotten to that point yet where I'm comfortable doing it.
I get it.
But that's why I try to, I guess market how I do, as it's like, I just try to if I look at how I am, if somebody makes me laugh, I'm going to remember it. I'm going to remember what it is.
I love that.
You know? So it's like, that's kind of the way that I look at it. I was like, all right, maybe if I make somebody laugh, they'll reach out to me, or they'll think of me with, you know, if they have, you know, somebody, a family member or a friend or whatever that needs to unload a place. You know, and it works. I got a message last week from somebody I hadn't heard from in years. And they're like, hey, you know, divorce, kind of the fucked up scenario, like usually comes with, you know, somebody having to unload a house anyway. So I went out, looked at the deal, great area. You know, I'm not sure if we'll be able to do anything because they owe a little more than probably what it's worth right now. I'm still going to help them out either way. It's like, you know, for me, it's probably not going to be a deal, but like, I'll list it for you, you know, and you know, be a listing, a couple grand, you know, whatever. And, but that came to me. It cost me no money.
I love that, dude.
Cost me no money at all.
Yep.
I haven't spent well, no, I lied. I dropped like $1,500 into mail last year. But aside from that, I have not spent $8 on marketing at all. No, that's a lie. I spent another $60 on signs to put out front of a flip. All right, whatever I'm at. Too.
Pretty negligible.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, in the world of direct to seller marketing,
exactly,
for acquisitions,
Yeah. So, but
that's sweet.
It's like I do like I have zero overhead. I run super lean.
I love that.
And I maybe it's just because I'm fucking cheap and don't want to spend any money at all. But like it also works. It's some of the rentals that I have. They cost me $500 to get them, and they're rentals that have tripled in value over the last couple of years.
What do you mean cost you $500?
I ran like a Facebook ad, and I dropped $500 into the Facebook ads or whatever, and I got something a deal or two per campaign.
Dude, that's incredible.
Yeah, and but it was like I was also like I was going anywhere I had to go to get the deals. I was driving from fucking Wilmington to Reading, and
gotcha.
But just being which I would never do now. You could have somebody that would say, I'll just give you this house if you guys just got to drive to Reading. I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
But that's kind of one thing that I've learned over the years is like, I don't need to spend a bunch of money on marketing.
I think about that often too, because it's like I'm spending less now than I ever have, but that's for a multitude of reasons, right? It's like I'm focusing on different things, whatever. But I got you, I also think that had I not gone through the experience and the journey that I did with marketing and spending $50,000 a month on marketing and everything, it's like I wouldn't have the experience and insight that I do today. So it's like when somebody asks me today, like, what are you doing for marketing? And I tell them what we're spending and how we're spending it and how we're doing it. It's still naive of them to think they're going to experience the same results as me because you don't have the same wisdom that I do from going through the things that I did.
And so the thing that I kind of with marketing too is like I forget where I heard this from. It was like nobody's going to care more about your business than you do. Obviously, that's obvious, it's a given, and that goes with like with incoming leads too. If I one thing I don't like to do is sit on the phone and call leads all day long. I don't like doing it, but if I'm spending money on it, I'm going to do it because it's like, no, I'm not going to hire a VA.
I'm not lighting my money on fire.
No, exactly. And it's like, I've thought about hiring a VA to do it, but it's like just being able to have that rapport with somebody, like, in the neighborhoods that I'm buying in, they're mainly blue collar neighborhoods. That rapport with somebody blue collar is very, very important, or anybody really. But being able to talk about, maybe sometimes mutual connections or stuff like that. Or being able to talk about, a restaurant down the street or something like that builds that rapport, and that's really important. And I have less time to do that now, which maybe is why I'm not really doing much, marketing at all. Really. Which some people are like, you're not doing any fucking marketing. It's like, I don't really need to right this second.
Well, it depends. You
know, and then there's the argument is like, oh, you should always, keep it consistent, which I do agree with to a certain extent, but like, I can also only handle so much as an individual too.
Right.
Where I've been, again, knock on wood, been doing pretty well with deals coming to me and money coming to me and stuff like that. So I don't want to piss a bunch of money away where it's like I'm just, with a Facebook ad or something like that. People are they're
it's so easy to light a lot of money on fire really, really, really fast. And at the end of the day, it's like you're pretty dialed in on what you want to do and you know what you want and everything. And like people, again, to the point of glamour, like glamorizing an industry, like wholesale is so guilty of it, man, because it's like, I just sent out a couple of text messages and I got this deal and I made $30,000. It's like, yeah, you might have done that, but now try to do it again in a repeatable fashion. And that's where everybody falls into the trap. And then they end up spending too much money. They hire the wrong people. And it's like almost everybody that I know, a bunch of my friends included. Like I was just talking to a buddy the other day. He's like, yeah, like 2 years ago, I should have listened to what you said, but I didn't. And I spent $50,000 on marketing and I didn't do any deals out of it. It's like, dude, like it's a business, man. Like
it is.
It's a grind, man.
That's the one thing that I always struggled with as far as like being scared of burning money was with marketing, specifically for wholesaling too. And that's when I didn't really have a lot of money. So I was like, fuck, if I spend $1,500 on marketing, that's, fucking 25% of the money that I have right now. And I can't afford, like, I got to live. So I can't piss that money away without, a guarantee, which doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist.
Of some kind of return. And I mean, there's been wholesale deals that I've worked for years that, exploded in value that I just actually ended up closing on. I started wholetailing a lot too.
Okay.
It was it was every fucking deal was referrals. It was,
I love that.
It was, I never went and hunted for anything really. And like anything in Philly now, I'm going to wholesale. I just don't like the city. I'm going to,
I don't even want to wholesale in Philly,
no,
bro.
I won't because I know I got a 50%.
We have two there right now and it's terrible.
I have no interest in doing it at all. It's just, the people are rough. I know more often than not, the title's not going to be able to be cleared.
No.
Because there's something from the RDA or some uncle that's died from the 80s that nobody can fucking get a hold of or
so much deed fraud.
Yeah,
it's just insane.
I'm not going to do it. But so if something comes to me, I can get it at a good enough number. I'll close on it. I'll relist it. And I was doing that I was doing that 2-3 times a year with stuff that would just come to me.
Yep.
It's always, I got to, everybody loves a guy. I keep saying that, but like, it's, a guy I know who knew one of his friends who had a cousin's uncle or something that was selling.
Yep.
And like, oh, you gotta talk to Matt. And again, I'm going out in, I think it was 22nd Susquehanna maybe or something like that. Tough area. I went out at like 6:00 at night on like a hot summer night. And I'm like, I'm like, oh fuck, man. Everybody's looking at me like, who's this guy?
Yep.
I walk in, get a deal like that. Took my first offer, which was fair for what the condition the place was in. And I was like, oh man, it was a big 4-bedroom. I was like, this would be a great Section 8 place. I'm like, Philly Section 8 sucks. So like, I'll figure out what to do with it. I got a contract. I'll figure out what to do with it.
Yep.
And then I was like, you know what? I'll just close on it. I'll relist it. If I get what I want for it, fine. If not, I'll rehab it.
Yep.
People coming out of the woodworks paying just ridiculous amounts of money. But again, it was like free. It was free money.
Yeah.
It's
there, man.
I didn't spend maybe $20 to change the lock. That's all I'll do. I'll change the lock. That's it. Won't touch anything. Won't clean it out. Nothing like that. And I was double and tripling my money doing that.
Yeah.
But again, it's so I don't know. Maybe I do probably less deals off of just kind of doing referral based stuff. But
that's okay.
They're all quality.
Dude, if they're fat deals and you're making money and everything, at the end of the day, and I think ego plays a factor into it for sure with most people. I know that it did for me. It's like, like years ago, I always wanted to be the nicest house, like in the frickin' city and everything.
Always.
And,
yep.
I always cared about volume too. Like I want to be able to be like, I want to be one of the big dogs. I want to be one of the top dogs. And I did that at the expense of basically profitability. Now it's like I look at stuff, and since I'm posting a little bit more in the last couple months because I'm doing more rehabs and everything, I've had so many contractors reach out to me, hit me up. Oh, I want to partner with you. I want to GC your stuff for you and everything. And it's like, dude, the volume that I'm doing right now, it's not big volume. It's like I may end up flipping maybe 5 or 6 houses this year, and I'm doing light rehabs. It's like, dude, the stuff I'm doing is $30,000 rehabs.
Well, still fine, whatever.
But it's like, could I do more? Yeah, but dude, the way that I'm doing it right now, it's very profitable and it's very manageable. So it's like, I'm happy. I'm good, dude. Yeah. I'm good.
And that's, and maybe like I keep trying to test myself too, maybe to see, and maybe honestly, maybe that is my ego too. It's like, all right, I got to do, between 12 and 15 flips this year. Like, could I do it? Probably.
Of course you could. Of course you could.
But at the same time, it's like, maybe at what expense? But also it's like, I don't, like I'll wake up some days, I'm like, fuck, man, I don't need to run out of the house. It's like, all right, maybe I got a good fucking system now.
Yeah.
But it was the ego though. I'm surprised I didn't mention that earlier because I think ego is the great equalizer because years ago, I was like, I wanted to have 100 rentals. I don't know why that was a number, but I wanted to have 100 rentals. And that was my ego, just to walk around and say, I have 100 rentals.
Yep.
Now I would rather have 20 and cash flow like a motherfucker off of all of them instead of making $200-300 off of 100.
Yep.
Or something like that.
100%.
So, and that's why I'm trying to get rid of some of my lower value rental stuff now, get into some nicer rental stuff, better tenants, which actually will be, more passive at that point. That's what everybody thinks having.
Hopefully.
Yeah, well, hopefully, yeah. Well, it's like, everybody thinks getting into rentals, it's like, oh, I want to have passive income.
Yeah.
well,
yeah, I haven't experienced that yet, man.
It's like, it's not, nah. I mean, you could think that maybe, but and there's, it all comes in waves too.
Of course.
It's like,
passing for a time. Like I said, the first time we went away, it's like, oh, that's the first time we experienced real issues. So before that it was passive.
Yep.
Till it's not.
I say that shit all the time. It's like, oh, everything's fine till it's not.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be times where it's not.
Yep.
Which is, I guess it is the HGTV thing that just glorified this entire fucking industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where.
Well, it's definitely that. Like that's a big piece to the public eye, but it's also the fact that legitimately, like, a lot of people do build massive wealth. Dude, everything that like I'm doing today, it's like I'm thankful to the real estate industry. It's wholesaling, to flipping. Like, I wouldn't be able to be here doing what I'm doing. Spending stupid money on software and everything because,
I would not be in this seat right now if it wasn't for the industry.
Yeah.
And I think it is the for the common man, like somebody like me, it's the easiest way to create wealth.
Yep.
I think, at least, and I don't know, like, I don't know shit about stocks. Everybody says real estate and stocks, that's how you're going to get wealthy. I don't know shit about stocks. I don't own stocks. Every dollar I have, I got into fucking real estate. Mm-hmm. And it's worked. Knock on wood.
Yep.
But it's get rich slow.
Yeah.
And the first couple
Which is
years,
the only way to get rich, dude.
To build a nice foundation. The fast money never lasts. I had the fast money. I remember, I had my wholesale company or whatever, 2017, 2018 or whatever. And I remember this is when I first got kicked in the dick pretty bad. I had I just started going down rented a short house with some of my buddies and stuff like that, mid-20s, whatever. And I had like close to 90, maybe 100 grand in wholesale fees pending. And I was like, man, this is it. I made $5,000 out of that 100.
Oof.
And I did. Sellers disappeared. Couldn't find anybody, which is what it is. I could have put a list pendants on shit, but I probably wouldn't have made a difference at all. Stuff, the buyers falling, buyers not closing, which always sucked.
That's a lot of pending revenue to fall out.
A shitload. And I'm sitting there like, all right, sweet, man. Like this is it for me.
Yeah.
And then just somebody just punched me in the gut.
Crushed.
And I was like, fuck. And like that was my money to live on. I was.
Yeah.
That's what I wasn't gonna do.
Yep.
So that humbled the shit out of me too, because I was walking around like, oh man, I'm gonna make 100 grand in the next 3 months.
Yep.
And my friends at the time had their little, $50,000-$60,000 job a year jobs, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make 100 grand this year. I started yapping about it, and then the universe was like, nah.
Humbled.
Yeah, universe was like, nah, no, you're gonna learn something, and I did, and then I at that point I was like, wholesaling in Philly, I'm done with. And I've wholesaled stuff in Delco, Delaware, even Maryland, and all organic stuff too.
I love it.
Which is just ironically enough, just happened. I'm not gonna say no to it, but like I had to figure out how to wholesale in Elkton, Maryland. It's like just the trenches of it's just not a good area. It's just like the worst neighborhood that I could have been in.
Yeah.
No buyers, nothing like that. Made a Facebook post, and I was like, hey, I need to figure out what to do with this piece of shit duplex. Somebody help me, basically, paraphrased. And a buddy of mine who I'd never done a deal with, he's like, we'll buy there. I'm like, fuck, all right, sweet. Rip 25 grand like that. Boom. Didn't cost me a cent to get it. I had one of my framing sub was working on some of his rentals that he had in this neighborhood. The homeowner came up to him and was like, hey, do you guys buy houses? I got to move, for a lot of different reasons. And he's like, oh, well, I don't anymore, but I know somebody. He called me. I was down there later that day, had a contract the next day.
I love it.
And I was like, well, fuck, I don't know. I don't know. I think this thing might be worth this. It's like, I don't really want to deal with it. It's kind of far for me. I don't have a property manager down this way. Like, I don't know, whatever. I'll just wholesale it. And there's a bank involved. They were over leveraged. I settled with the bank. It was just a private, guy. The guy that had a lot of money that just lent to the homeowners or whatever. Settled that, and I ripped a quick 25 grand. Didn't cost me maybe a tank of gas, maybe, because I had to go back and forth a couple times. But aside from that, just straight, But it's going back to the ego thing. That was like, if that was years ago, I'd be like, look what I did, everybody.
Yeah.
It's just like now it's like, I'm good.
No, yeah,
Like,
you got to be grateful and thankful for it and everything, but you also have to look at that situation and be like, is that situation repeatable? Is it scalable? Is it controllable? And usually the answer is no.
right, and that is not.
Yep.
That is not. It's
Yep.
just
So it's like it's a great supplemental thing to add on to what you're already doing.
Exactly. Yeah, like that is not typical at all.
Yep.
You know, but you know the couple wholesale deals I'll rip a year, you know, they're good ones.
Yep.
You know, it's extra money that doesn't take that much time now, but it was years of figuring out how to, you know, what takes me, you know, maybe a full day's worth of work now, maybe everything added up together. Took me years to learn how to do that thing.
Exactly right. And that's back to the progress and progression of just figuring things out through the trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been fun. You know, I you know, you always hear people say, I can't see myself doing anything else. Like right now, I really couldn't. I really like what I do. You know, I'm in a good spot. I don't know how far I really want to go doing it. Like I definitely don't want a giant company or anything like that. You know, just because I'm not good at managing people. Maybe I think is what it is. Because you know, that saying, you know, if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself, kind of thing. That's still kind of what I struggle with. Is like delegating. I'm not good at that. As far as like, you know, having a project manager or something like that. I've done project management. It sucks. Like it's not a fun job, and especially like having to pay that person and then having to worry about their salary. Then I become the last person to get paid. Yep. You know, and now I'm the first person to get paid because I'm the only person to get paid.
Yep.
You know, so you know, I think, but again, that's part of like the progression of figuring out like really what I want to do with all this shit.
Dude, absolutely, man.
You know?
If you look back now, knowing what you know and everything. Is there anything you would have done differently like 10 years ago?
Damn, that's a good question. That's a good question. You know, I want to say no, because I would not be where I'm at
for sure
now, obviously.
Yep.
But at the same time, I think I probably would have got some sort of finance job right out of college. I think that had you know a consistent salary. You know, I was living at home until you know I was early 20s or whatever after I got out of school. So I would have, I mean, I came out swinging with like serving and bartending money, which was like not a lot. I was still serving and bartending when I got started. So had I had like more consistency and income, I might have done like a house hacking type thing maybe or something like that.
Okay.
You know, because I would have been out of that already. And 10 years ago,
yeah, man,
you know, that
made a lot of money, a lot of equity on that.
Yeah. So, but at hindsight, you know, I didn't know that. I didn't know that then. But now knowing what I know now, that's probably what I would have went and done is maybe got something consistent for a while. Cause I mean, I was 22, 23 years old. I'd make, you know, $5,000 1 month, would make any money for 2 months and just kind of up and down. I was just fighting to live.
Yep.
And, you know, with zero consistency, income wise, which it's hard to invest any money if you don't know if you don't have any money, you don't know when the next time you're going to get paid.
Yeah.
Is, obviously.
Yeah. Projecting that out, especially early on, is really, really challenging, dude.
Yeah, especially I'm going into a new industry for me that I knew nothing about, didn't know anybody, thought everybody would, you know, treat me the way that I would want to treat other people, which is definitely fucking not what it is. At all. Like that's not even a question anymore. It's like now if I meet anybody, it's probably, I don't know if it's the right way to look at things sometimes, but it's like, how can I make sure I don't get fucked? Really? You know, and not that, and again, I haven't lost a crazy amount of money, you know, and there's still some stuff I'm getting, still some holes I'm digging myself out of from, you know, my late 20s when I thought that people that I knew for a while were always going to be like, yeah, don't worry, like not going to pull the wool over my eyes, basically. But that's not the case. So, I mean, going back, I would I would definitely be a lot more selective and with who I decide to work with and take advice from, which it sounds like such a cliche answer, but honestly,
no, dude, I think that's a deep answer, and that's a very thoughtful because it was probably a real painful experience you went through multiple times.
Because like I don't have it in me to get over on anybody for anything really, because I wouldn't want that done to me.
Yep.
Period. So trying to figure out why somebody would do something. I was like, it just wouldn't.
You can't. It'll never click. It'll just never compute for you.
And it never did. And it never did. And some of the shit still doesn't to this day, and it won't. And it is what it is. But, aside from that, it's like, that is probably the biggest thing. There's the investing side of it. Obviously, I'd come out with a job first, and maybe and stack some money away. So I could have invested earlier on.
Yeah.
And I who knows where I'd be if I did that. I don't know. Maybe I'd be better off, worse off. I don't know. But I think to supersede that, I think if I could change anything, I would be much more careful with who I got in bed with.
I think that's fantastic advice.
Yeah, because not everybody is going to treat you the way that you think that you should treat them.
Yep.
Some people will go into a business relationship with you thinking, what's the easiest way that I can kind of fuck this kid, basically.
Yeah. How can I make as much money as humanly possible
off of their back,
yeah.
off of somebody else's back, which has happened to me. So that honestly, that is probably the biggest thing.
I don't think enough people look at it just from the simple reference of a business partner is like getting married. You're picking a spouse, man, and you're going through and you're going to be tied to that person in some way, shape, or form until you're not. And when you're not, it's going to be messy. It's going to be expensive. It's going to be emotionally and maybe physically draining.
Yep.
Dude, it can be really, really nasty. It can also be really great, right? There's great partnerships that are out there and everything.
Definitely, yeah.
Probably very, very few.
Seriously. And it's the more I see, the more I do. It's like I see more partnerships fail than succeed.
Yeah,
for a lot of different reasons. But that I think, knowing what I know now, looking at where I'm at now, I guess, like I mentioned earlier on, like people that I know have money to invest come to me and they're like, I want to invest in real estate. Can we partner on something? I'm like, and 5 years ago, I'm like, yeah, fine. Let's just start a company. You put money in, I put money in, 50-50, boom, done.
Yep.
Now it's, listen, how much money do you have to invest? It's about like 25, maybe $50,000. Like, I'll be honest, it's not really enough for me to do anything with.
Right.
If we start talking 75, 100 grand, that's doable.
Yeah.
But if you're going to partner with me, this is how it would have to be set up. And that is, I run operations, you put money in, you get, I'll personally guarantee any loans that we have to, but you're going to be a limited partner. You don't have any say in anything that goes on.
It's like, I wouldn't even consider that a partnership. It's essentially just you are a lender,
Exactly.
And it's like, that's maybe we structure it where you get some of the profitability of the project, whatever, but it's like still essentially you're a lender.
Yeah. And that's how I
that's
go.
Clean.
That's how I go into everything now. And that is because I am gun shy of previous partnerships and stuff like that.
Yep.
So long answer to that question is definitely, I would 1000% be much more thoughtful with how I go into a partnership, how it's structured, and who that person is too.
Dude, absolutely.
Because that I wouldn't cross-reference anything. Like, they seem like a good person.
Yep.
They seem like they know things, and then I just end up, getting. I'm shit out of luck a lot of times with that, or was. So that without a doubt, I think, thinking of through everything. If I could go back 10 years ago, knowing what I know now, I would be very, very weary of jumping in bed with somebody else that I know on a surface level.
Yeah. For
sure.
Dude, seriously, I think that's universally good advice. Same thing, even with a girlfriend, a wife, whatever, it's like, it's the same thing, It's, man, you don't want to maybe be connected.
No.
For life with this person, right?
No. And that's, a lesson learned for sure. And then, there's things that I'm thinking of now that the world shouldn't hear probably, but that can obviously make or break somebody too.
100%, man.
And then stepping back to ego too, it's with two people that are, maybe sort of have the same mindset. It's whose ego is going to win.
Yeah.
And I'm at the point now where it's like, I'll let somebody think they win, even though I know, like, I'm thinking, 10 steps ahead. It's like, all right, if you're happy with that, this is what I'm going to be happy with. Then, we'll find something in the middle. You think you won, fine, but I know this is really what I want to make my life fucking more peaceful at this point. Because that's where I'm at now too. Is like the last couple of years, just chaos for a lot of different reasons. Mm-hmm. Now I come home after a nice long day, and it's a nice quiet house. Like I'm like, all right, this is what I want. I want this peace now. So it's, how can I make the most amount of money possible with the least amount of chaos, maybe?
Dude, I love that.
So that's all in all kind of where I'm falling now. It's like what's going to be easiest for me, most peaceful, but also how am I going to make the most amount of money too?
Dude, it really seems like you hit a stride, man. And it's like you're in a good spot and everything. And
I guess, yeah. It's I don't want to get too overzealous, obviously, and think I'm some fucking big time investor now because I can get squashed like that, But at the same time, I want to think it'd be pretty hard to squash me now too because I got a good foundation.
Yeah, man.
I got all the right people in place now, the right partnerships, like lending partnerships and stuff like that, even. Because I'm working hand in hand with everybody. Like
That's
it's
huge.
Yeah. A couple of lenders that I'm working with now, it's like they're friends of mine now, but it's it's not institutionalized where it's just paperwork.
Right.
So when I say partnership like that, it's like there's that mutual trust amongst everybody.
It's a relationship
before jumping into something. Yeah,
it's a relationship.
Period. Period. Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Which. At a time nothing's ever smooth sailing, obviously, but like I haven't had to, in the last, call it 2 years, I have not had to deal with anything related to what I had to deal with, 3 or 4 years before that too. So I'm like, all right, again, maybe I'm heading in the right direction. I always joke around now with, years ago, people are like, oh, how are you? It's like, oh, I'm fucking busy. Now it's like, I can't say, like, I'm productive now.
Right.
But, like going to the bank, for example. I'm in and out of banks a lot, or to the bank that I use most of the time. And, 2 years ago, it's, oh, hey, Matt. Same people always working there, real great people working. And it's like, oh, how busy are you now? I'm like, it's 9:30, just ate breakfast. I'm good. I'm going to go just check my jobs and, make sure everything's getting done.
Yep.
And, look for some more deals later. I'm not giving them the whole fucking story, obviously, but it's like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not running around like an asshole anymore.
Dude, it's funny. Like, I've been thinking about it a lot in the last, month or two. Like, I really, maybe one day I will. No, I probably won't. Like track my time and what I'm doing throughout the day. Because in the last few months, I can guarantee you I'm spending 80% of my time just talking to other people. I'm talking to other business owners.
Exactly.
Because a couple years ago, I would spend 99% of my time running the business, training people, onboarding, doing all these things.
Yeah.
It's like now I've scaled back massively. And it's I have some stuff that I'm developing on the software side and everything. But it's seriously, I spend most of my day, every day, talking to people.
It's funny you bring that up because that is actually, now thinking through that is basically what I'm doing now too. And it's for whether there are other people in the industry.
And things are coming from it though too. It's like relationships come, business comes from it and everything. And it's from conversations that you wouldn't expect it to either. It's not like I'm going into a conversation like, oh, how can we JV on this deal? It's like, no, we just have a conversation. And if there's alignment, it's like, cool, maybe we'll do a deal or we'll do some business in the future.
Exactly. Like my tattoo artist, he's done pretty well for himself. And he's trying to step back from tattooing now, and he's heavy on the business side of tattooing too. He has his own stencil paper and stuff like that, stuff that I would never, obviously not a tattooer, obviously, but he's heavy on the business side of it too. So obviously he makes good money from tattooing, but real heavy on the business side. So over the years, he's like, oh, what do you do? I was like, oh, real estate. And he's like, oh shit, me too. I'm like, oh, okay, fuck, sweet. And then that just sort of evolved over time. And now it's like, if I see a deal, I send it to him. I'm like, hey, listen, what do you think about this one? So how much would you need? And it's, I don't know, maybe you want to put 75, 100 into it. I'll get the rest, I'll just leverage the rest. He's like, yeah, fine, fuck it. Let's do it. And that's it. That's it, and that, it's cool because then I'm doing business with people that I actually wanted to fucking do business with.
Dude, exactly right. Seriously, that's my main thing with the podcast too. It's like, dude, I love doing this because I sit down with people that I like and talk about things that I like.
Yeah.
And it's like I get to do this once a week, twice a week, and it's like, dude, this is work. This is the greatest work ever.
So I had for a while kind of a hard time defining what work was too.
Yeah.
Like this is work.
Absolutely.
But at the same time too, it's I always like, oh man, if I'm not, hunting for leads or out doing something,
I don't feel productive.
Exactly.
I get it.
Exactly.
I totally get it. Especially like you said, with your story, coming from like parents that worked their whole life and everything. If
you were not,
it's ingrained in you.
Up and out working somewhere, you're not working.
Yep.
And that's that old school mentality, which was the way that it was then, but it's not the way that it is now.
Yep.
Or maybe it was for people in the industry back then, but like just the way that I grew up, my grandparents
There's ways to weave in between the lines and make money and
exactly. So I mean, the last couple of years, my parents were like, "Oh shit, okay, yeah, the kid got it figured out," which is nice. Yep. Because for years there's like, "Fuck you doing?"
Yeah.
But now they're like, "All right, you were right, kid." But growing up, it was like that if you were not up and out early in the morning doing some sort of like even like manual labor, you're not doing shit.
Yep.
But work, so that's why I kind of had a hard time kind of defining what work was and why I was so like, I burned myself out because it was like, fuck man, I have to either be on the phone, trying to find deals, trying to raise money, trying to do this, trying to do that, whatever. And if I wasn't doing it, then I'm wasting
internally
time.
You just don't feel good either, man.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I was like I'm wasting time.
Yep.
And now, but then, and this is still very recent. It's like, well, why the fuck did I get into this industry anyway? And it's to create time for myself.
Yep.
So and my family when I have one, hopefully. And I was like, that's why you got into it, but you're doing the fucking opposite.
Yep.
So now I've been getting a lot better of working in, like I said before, like working work into actually living.
Yep.
Which is, I think you got to be tough on yourself to a certain extent and have that discipline. But at the same time, as long as everything is kind of moving the way that it should be, and you're still seeing kind of...
Yeah, that's the thing too, because it's like the reason that you can do that or I can do that is because, like, dude, it's been 10 years. Like, you've been at it, you've been grinding, It's like, exactly. I see way too many people that are like, oh, I did 2 deals, I'm going to rock back on my heels. It's like, nah, man, like, you know, you got a long way to go. Yeah. And I'm not there yet either, bro. I am so far from arrived,
Yeah, and it's like, the thing for me, it's like, I remember, and it's not a bad thing, but it's like, I don't know when I'm going to get to, where I expect to get to, because I don't know what that really looks like.
Yeah.
And
none of us really know.
Yeah. And it's different for me now because I don't have anything holding me back. I don't have anybody else to take care of in my house at all. Like my family, I'll take care of them. No questions asked, obviously, but like, nobody at home is relying on me right now. So it's easy for me to say, sure, I'll do, 12, 15, 20 flips a year. And I can use all of my time. But when I need my time, I guess, when I have a wife, kids, whatever, if that ever comes, I want to make sure that I have that time.
It's a blessing and a curse, right? Because it's good that you think about like the ability that you have given not having wife and kids. But like, I don't know, I think for me, like, dude, I had my first daughter really young, and that's why I started doing real estate and everything. That's why, you know? So in a lot of ways, like, I have friends that don't have kids, and they're like, oh my God, like, I don't know how you, with a wife and kids, can go do the things that you do and everything. And I'm like, dude, I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I don't know how you, without a wife and kids, can do it, right? Because it's like, for me, I'm like, dude, it's not even for me. I got to go put food on the table, right? It's not about me, you know? So, like, I sometimes think, like, if I was the same age that I am today and I didn't have a wife and kids, would I be doing any of the things that I'm doing? I think the answer is no.
Yeah. See, and I don't. On the flip side, I don't know what my answer would be if I did have a wife and kids. Right. But I mean, I probably, just because the way that I'm wired, like, I'd be balls to the wall always to make sure that I can provide.
Yep.
I'm still thinking ahead for the wife and kids when I have them, hopefully, is I'll have the foundation built already.
Yep.
And it's, kind of like, all right, the man's already kind of put together maybe, but it's maybe selfishly I didn't want to say selfishly, but it's for me in the future.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
It's for my family in the future. And my
I love that,
my
dude.
family now, like my parents now, I wish I had my grandparents around still so they could see what I was doing. But like my parents, I cannot wait for the day when I'm not even saying if, it's just kind of a matter of when at this point, when I can get them a nice shore house and just say, here's the key, go fucking relax.
That's so cool, dude.
You guys did it. The reason that I have what I have is, because of the foundation you guys built for me. So like you did it, go relax, let me handle the shit from here on out.
That's so cool.
Basically. So it's a bigger, broader, fucking deeper, why maybe of
but that's important though, because you've thought about it. And I think that's the most important thing is like, I think it's a real superpower to be able to turn or convert almost anything into motivation. Like I can look at it now, like somebody can talk shit on me, it'll motivate me. Somebody can say nothing, it'll motivate me. Somebody can compliment me, it'll motivate me. So no matter what happens in the world, I can take that and I can turn it around into a way to just fuel what I'm doing and not get stuck in it. Not get stuck in somebody said that, whatever. Like it doesn't matter.
I think that comes with age too. Like I don't give
Probably.
a fuck. I don't give a fuck now, man. Honestly.
No, I do. I do though. But I use it in a productive way. So like, I guess I don't care. Like, I'm not gonna.
When I say, I mean, it's like people can talk, whatever. I know that it's almost like that. Okay, you say what you want, but I know what I'm gonna do.
Yep.
And you might not like it. I don't give a shit. That's sort of not giving a fuck. It's like, all right,
I get you.
You talk all your shit, but I know if I'm gonna say something, I'm able to back it up.
Yep.
Whatever it is, and that's the type of like I don't give a fuck at all. Sure, you guys, but it's a form of motivation almost at that point where it's like, it's like you guys go ahead, talk the shit you want to talk.
Yep.
I remember so that's probably one of the last things. I don't have no idea what time it is. I'll yap all fucking day.
I don't know.
But I had a teacher in high school, and Mrs. Hughes was her name, and I was never real good in school. Because I just didn't give a shit. She was a chemistry teacher.
Ditto.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not going to be a chemist. I don't give a fuck about any of this shit at all. I was like, I know I'm going to do something. I know I'm going to have money and be free someday. But I was 16, 17 years old. I didn't know what it was at the time. But I remember we got into it for something because she would just hand out like thick packets of just shit. We just copy fucking notes. And I'm like, this is not teaching us anything at all. Yeah. We're just copying shit down, and memorizing shit, spilling it out on a fucking piece of paper for a test. And then it goes fucking away. Like, what's the point in that? So, and I just being a punk ass fucking kid too at the same time. But I remember clear as day, I could go back to the classroom and see and stand exactly where she was. She's like, you are never going to make it in the real world. You're going to get ripped apart out there. And I still remember that. And now it's like, I'm a fucking big car guy. So I'm like, I'm looking for, I might end up picking up an Aston Martin soon. I fucking love Aston. I love Astons.
Love it.
And so I'm starting to hunt for one of those too. And, I'm keeping that in the back of my mind with all this shit too. And it seemed kind of simple and be like, everybody's got that story of somebody says like, oh, somebody said that I couldn't do it or whatever. But for whatever reason, that just pissed me the fuck off. And I was like, all right, like, yeah, just wait. So now the business teacher that I had, I was emailing him back and forth kind of recently. I was like, hey, if you need anybody that's like younger to come in and talk in your class, I'm happy to like donate a day to come and just talk about like business related stuff with real estate. Obviously, there's other business I know nothing about, but in the back of my mind, I want to pull up to the school in my Aston, and I know she's still working there, and just be like, hey, do you remember me? Because you remember you said I wasn't gonna turn in anything at all. You see that car out there? Mm-hmm. That's worth more than you make in a year now. And not in and I hate to be arrogant like that, but it just sticks in it. That's in the back of my mind of, oh, you're never going to make it. I was like, we'll see about that. And I don't know why, out of all the things that have happened in my life, that's what stuck.
That stuck out.
That stuck out.
Dude, that's incredible though. Like, you should go give her a hug, man.
I
It's
should.
like,
I should.
My God.
I should.
Like, even so much of it was probably subconscious for you over the years, but there's something there that stuck, man. And it probably did fuel, like, even when you didn't think about it, when you're dealing with crap, right? Like, you're going through difficult times, stuff like that. It burns that fire inside of you that keeps you going, man.
Yeah.
And
so the combination of maybe that simple thing when I was younger versus, in addition to like wanting to be able to provide for my family too. Yeah. It's like what, and again, just the industry being the way that it is and the money that you can make doing it. What can I do to make sure, and you get in the argument of, money doesn't buy happiness and shit like that. It might not, but it'll buy you freedom, period. Money will buy you freedom. And, you have enough cash, it's going to make your life easier no matter what, period. Yep. So, the combination of maybe that little instance there with some other shit that's happened over the years, I'm sure.
Of course.
With wanting to be able to just, make sure that my family has a good foundation, that they don't have to worry about anything that I worried about growing up, or that maybe psych myself out about growing up, that I want to be able to make sure that my parents, wife, kids, sister, brother-in-law, whatever, have nothing to worry about at all. So it's like I'm starting to get to that point now where it's like, all right, my shit's handled. It doesn't cost me a lot of money to live. After I get my place paid off and all that shit, truck paid off, all that stuff. Aside from the Aston too, but that's beside the point.
Got toys.
I'll buy it used. But having all that aside, it's like having money, I think, just amplifies how you are as a person.
I agree.
And
fully agree.
If you're a dickhead without money, you're going to be a giant dickhead with money. Mm-hmm. If you're somebody that is super, kind, compassionate without money, that money is going to make you way more kind and compassionate. Yep. So, and that's kind of, I like to think kind of where I fall is on that side. Obviously, it's like I'm not doing bad. So it's like, all right, anytime I see an opportunity maybe to help somebody out, maybe financially or just, usually financially, I guess, but it's like, I'm going to do it because I know,
it's such a great feeling, dude.
It is,
it's a great feeling.
It would help me out if I've been in, shitty scenarios, obviously, but but also just being able to, almost be just be a provider, really. Like I think any man should be, really, is just roll out the red carpet for your family.
It's our job, dude.
And just, and fucking, and do it with a smile on your face. Yep. So it's like all this, yes, I am enjoying this now because I have a lot of freedom to do what I want, when I want, but also I'm thinking way, way ahead of the future too. It's like, when I have kids and, I think like maternity leave, for example, my wife, if I ever end up with one, is I want to be able to be like, hey, you don't have to go back to work. Yeah. It's fine. Don't worry about it. We got beautiful babies now. Fuck a job. You don't have to worry about that.
Dude, I did that with my wife with our middle daughter. It's like our first kid, she worked at, my oldest is 13, my middle is 7. Mm-hmm. So she still worked until we had our 7-year-old, but she was pregnant, and during that pregnancy, like she was getting sick at work a lot, and it's like she didn't have like a really high paying job anyway. Yeah. And dude, her manager was a dick.
Just
and like
fucking over. Yeah.
She called me crying her eyes out one day, and it's like she was getting sick a lot in that pregnancy, so she was like throwing up at work, and she just called me crying her eyes out. And dude, I'll never forget. Like it was like you're leaving, and you're never going back. Yep. And she's like, I can't. Like we're about to have our second kid. I was also, quitting my day job at that point to go run the real estate business. Okay. And we were buying a house in Westchester, like all at the same. So terrible timing.
Talk about.
But I was like, nah, dude, freaking no, you're done. You're never going back.
Yep. And that's
made it work.
And that's part of figuring it out too. That's what I think most men that are worth a shit now, you don't know, whatever it is, you'll figure it out.
That's it.
Whatever it is, you'll figure it out.
Yep.
And that's kind of how I go into everything now. It's like, whatever it is, I don't know. I'll figure it out.
Yep.
I'll figure it out. And knock on wood, I figured whatever it is every time.
Every single time,
but,
man.
And that's what it's hard to describe that to people that don't understand kind of that sort of mentality. And I was not always like that too. I was, just kind of soft-handed, I was like, oh, I got to have everything planned out, and now it's like, I'll figure it out. Yep. Whatever it is, I'll get it worked out. I'll figure it out one way or the other.
Yep.
So anyway, long and short of it now is like the whole reason that I'm doing what I'm doing now, which I get very, very thankful and grateful to be where I'm at now, is just for my future family, the family I have now, obviously, but then also like my future family.
I love it, dude.
You know, and that's the deeper like why with all this shit is, you know, putting up with some of the shit that I've had to put up with. It's like, all right, yeah, I could go get maybe a 6-figure job somewhere, but I'm limited at that.
Yeah.
Whereas like I can make that off one house now, and you know, be able to provide.
It's going to make more of a difference and more of an impact for my family and everything. Yeah, so, I think it's ultimately like everything has to be fueled by some other external force.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter who you are. Exactly. It doesn't matter what it is that's fueling you, but it's always some form of external source. It's bigger than we are.
Yeah.
And it's like maybe it's family, maybe it's community, maybe it's, you know, fucking saving civilization, whatever it is, but it's always an external, driving factor, man. So I love that. That's you know what I mean, I like anything. It's like some days you're like, fuck, I don't want to do this shit, and then it's like, all right, hold on, just remember why you got into the shit to begin with. That's right.
Okay. And I just keep thinking of that fucking short house now because that's it might sound stupid.
That's fuel though, but man.
Like,
I love it.
I've accomplished a lot of what I want to. I want to get into like traveling more and stuff like that now. I did a lot of traveling when I was younger, and really kind of put the brakes on the last few years to kind of build, you know, wealth, I guess, if you want to call it that. But the larger driving factor now is like, all right, I thankfully have my freedom now, but I want to be able to give that freedom to everybody else in my family. You know, my parents especially.
Next level.
That. So maybe I just figured that out now. Honestly, that's probably what it is. Is that like I'm good. I know I'll always be good. So I want to be able to help my family kind of level up and give them what they deserve.
That's so cool.
You know, and so I mean, my family that I have now and, you know, my future family too. Yep. Wife, kids. I don't, you know, I never want there to be any sort of financial stress, which is why I'm trying to build all this shit now.
Man.
You know, I'm not getting any younger.
All ladies are going to be watching this now, man. They're going to be like, "Oh, sugar daddy over here."
No, that's my own sugar. But for now. But I mean, that is the, you know, but going back to the freedom of, you know, I want to be able to give my wife the opportunity. You don't want to work? Fuck it, don't work. Yep. I don't care. I got it.
Yep.
You know, and that's the I guess bigger overarching sort of like why.
I love it.
I guess with this shit. You know, and and I want to wake up on the beach some days too. You know, walk out on my fucking bay. I like Bayfront. You know,
Bayfront's cool, man. Yeah, Bayfront's cool.
You know, but you know, it might sound goofy, but like that's $1 million just like that. Maybe that's on the lower end.
Yep.
Now, so
that's a shack.
Yeah, it is now, honestly. But you know what? I can rehab the place myself then too.
Exactly.
You know, and make it the fucking way that I want to.
Got the skills, got the tools, got the resources.
So I'm good buying the shack then at that point and making it.
I feel you.
Not a shack, but
I feel you.
Anyway, but I don't know how much longer you want to go on. I don't want to take up too much.
No, man. It's all good. It's all good. So last question for you because it'll be relevant. So. If anybody wants to send you deals, your buy box, like what are you looking for? You're in Newcastle County and Kent?
So basically all Newcastle County.
Okay.
Not City of Wilmington. I don't really like the city stuff. Or Southern Chester County.
Okay.
So I'll look at stuff in Cecil County. Basically anywhere that's in with like 45-minute drive of where I live in Kennett, honestly.
Okay. So good flips, 45-minute radius of Kennett.
Roughly,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
You know, I'm on the rental side, I'm starting to learn more about getting like corporate leasing and stuff like that now too, which I'm not quite there yet. But right now, bread and butter is just flipping stuff. I mean, I love Newark. I've been doing really, really good in Newark. That's where almost everything that I have working now is between Newark and Bear. So it's not, if it ain't broke, I don't plan on fixing it for now. But But
so people are going to send you deals,
dude,
baby.
I'll take every deal that I can look at. You know, it's every 30 that you look at, 1 or 2 might turn into a deal. But
that's okay.
You know, where I'm at now, it's like all the numbers are sort of the same. I'm using some of my own comps now too, which is cool. Not like fucked up way, but like people are paying what I'm asking for stuff. So you know that's simple supply and demand shit. But yeah, email always the easiest way to get in touch with me too. Because I don't like talking on the phone. Text or
Man after my heart. I love it. I mean, I'm a text guy, so it's like everybody will call me, and it's like, dude, right now I probably have 700 text messages.
I know.
But it's like,
I know.
It's insane, you know. So text, but all right. So email. Drop your email.
Matt MATT at Friuli Capital. It's FRIULI Capital with an A .com. Friuli. It's the area where my grandfather grew up in Italy.
Okay.
So it's my way to and he's a very, very, very driving, like that's a big force for me too, which I didn't even really touch on, but knowing, so that's kind of like my ode to him almost is having, a company name, Friuli Building Group, Friuli Capital is the money side of it. Friuli Building Group is the build side of everything I'm doing. So it's like my ode to him. Cause I mean, he was a rock for me for 28 years.
I love it,
before he passed away. So that's my ode to him is having a company named after where he came from in Italy.
That's super cool.
Yeah. So that also is a big reminding factor too. Is like, I remember like you didn't grow up in a war-torn country. You can figure it out too. But
you got
email always.
Email. Got it.
MATT at FRIULI capital.com.
Love it. And you're on Facebook.
Facebook. Matthew Edward on Facebook.
Matthew Edward. Love it.
Yeah. So after this, probably not going to remain too private, I guess, which is
fine. No. We'll keep it. We got you.
But either way, yeah. No, I mean, I try to the Facebook banner I love. But try to make people laugh on Facebook too. And
I love it, brother. You do a great job.
It's working.
Do a great job.
It's working, yeah.
Excited to see where
dude, honestly,
I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah,
man.
this is sweet. It's big.
It's been awesome.
I've watched a couple episodes too, so I mean, when you reached out to him, I was like, all right, yeah, fuck yeah, let's go.
I love it, dude.
So
super
I really
excited,
appreciate it.
man.
Big time, man.
Thanks so much for coming on, brother.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you.
Man, for sure.
Boom.